Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 559th episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I'm the Clown Prince of Podcasts, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by...
The Edmar Caster, Dylan Musk. My last episode in a good month here.
Field, stay the field.
Good thing you added it in a good month there, because somebody for a second might have had some worries there going on, you know?
Yeah.
It's the thing, like...
We've been talking about it, so I feel like it's no surprise to anyone. It's only a month, 3
There's
weeks.
going to be somebody. There's going to be where's Dylan been? Where's Dylan? It's going to be Carl. He's going to be on After Night. Where's Dylan been? Oh, I've been doing this. I don't know where he's been and stuff, but... I was just looking at the background. We're not really talking about Star Wars, but you know, it's a nice background, so it might stay around. It feels like it's like a good summer background because it has like it looks like the sun setting, you know. But
Oh, yes. Yeah, I agree. That's beautiful.
oh
I
yeah,
thought you were
tell
talking
it's
about
Star
your
Wars.
background, and I was kind of confused for a second. Then I realized
Oh, no.
StreamYard background.
yeah.
You
no,
can't even tell
streamer,
this
yeah.
one's Star Wars, to be honest. It just looks like summer.
No, because even when we get rid of you, you do see
Oh,
Mando
yeah.
there. Yeah,
There you
there.
go.
But you know, that's it. But speaking of Star Wars, you can go and there's a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff that dropped this week, Star Wars Visions and things like that. So what was it? Jedi Survivor. That's the other thing that dropped. A lot. It hasn't been a busy week for me, but it's been like I feel like a lot of things on the mind, moving and stuff like that. Got to get a new bike. I was biking and my bike broke, so that was annoying and everything like that. Got to
Had
get
it break.
so it had again I don't think we've ever told this story on air. I had to film something at Taylor's place, so I had so I had a duffel bag with me. And Taylor's place currently, it's gonna be different now, but where we live is, I don't know, maybe a 10-minute walk, so less than 5-minute bike ride and stuff like that. So I'm biking to his place, and the bike or the bag somehow like it just like shifted weight and it went in from the handle or went in the tire, and I did a whole flip and everything
God.
like that. I remember because were we going to see a
I wish that was
movie,
caught on
weren't we?
camera. You know, I'm sure you got hurt or something, but I wish that was on camera.
We weren't
My
going to see a
wounds-
movie. This is you coming to attack me.
No.
Sure.
That's kayfabe. You don't want to break that. No, I thought we were seeing a movie because I thought I saw you at Quiz. No, we were because I saw you at Quiznos, remember? And I had to go in the bathroom and like soak up my wounds.
But why would you bike to my house, though? You said.
I think I was dropping. That's what it was. I was dropping something off at your house, and then and I remember just going to Quizno. Taylor's footage is probably gone, but on my camera I was like looking at my hand and stuff. So the bike's kind of been like a little iffy since then because it hit hard. So I feel like I was living on borrowed time, but all I wanted was to get through this summer because like this is not my. I still gotta buy like a new mountain bike. Haven't done that well. This is just my like to and from bike. I used to do it to work and then to the gym, but then as I'm going today, I don't think I can lift my leg up. It like nicked me pretty good. Where is it? Right there. Right, that's just the full pedal. Just stopped and just like
Yikes.
impaled that all. So I had to walk back. Did the walk of shame like a loser. You just walk with like a bike, and there's somebody probably like, "Oh, lazy this guy is. He's a bike and he's walking it." But yeah, so that was a bummer. So it's a bunch of stuff, and just moving in general is never fun. You know, you're going through what do I need to take, what do I have to pack up and stuff. I just look at this room in general. I'm like, ugh, like. It's a lot of stuff, you know.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
A lot of stuff. What about you doing? You ready for your trip? When do you actually leave tomorrow? When's your actual leave date?
I leave Saturday morning. The flight's at 7 a.m., so I got to get to the
Not bad.
airport bright and early. So yeah, pretty much just one more day, and then I'm getting out of here, getting out of this town. But I'm all ready. So, and I'm not working tomorrow either. So it's just a nice day. Get ready, and I don't really have any last minute things to do other than just put things in my suitcase. So I'm ready. Good to go.
That's good. Well, enjoy your trip, sir. That's gonna be
Yeah,
good.
it'll be a lot
It'll be
of
good when we do after 9. I know we'll talk about before, but original. Some talk about your experiences in Europe,
sure.
whatnot. Stay out of trouble. You know,
Oh,
don't
yeah,
talk.
of course.
Don't talk to shady characters
No, never. No back alleys.
or make muds. You know, if someone has to be like you go talk to them. See, you know.
What? You're putting her in danger?
Well, you know, you're a shareholder. We got to keep you alive. You know. So.
Well, she's a patron of the $15
She
tier.
is.
so
She
she's also
is.
valuable.
She's a producer. Yeah, she's not a shareholder, but maybe we'll just shimmy her shares to you, and then yeah. What were you, Taylor? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
You were
Gosh,
slaving
just-
away Survivor all week. He was.
That's
every
literally
night.
been the name of the game lately for me. Jedi Survivor. Just slaving away at that, going hard till like 1 a.m., getting up at like 5 a.m., playing again there. Just
Still
a lot
doesn't
of
beat it.
No, now that we've done the review, but I'm on the last mission, so I mean,
Is it a
there's-
long
there's that.
game or what's going on there?
I think it's
I
just
think
more
it's-
challenging.
I feel like
I
the
did,
first
like-
one was like a 12, 15 hours or
The
something,
the
right?
It's like 19
storyline
hours.
Okay.
the storyline is definitely where you can cruise through at points for sure, but you get to those
You're
boss
taking your
battles and you're spending time on those boss battles. But check out the review. I'll go in depth on that.
Yeah, I said to Taylor, I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but I feel like I'm a changed man since I've done Elden Ring, and I felt like this game was nothing. I remember because I had
Vengeance has changed you.
yeah, I have Vengeance, Vance Geen as well. You know those two guys. Like I like because I never played Soul games before when I did Jedi Fallen Order. And I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of tough. But now since I've been on the other side, nothing comes close. Like games just feel like a breeze nowadays because just like there's no level of frustration I've gotten close to Elden Ring level, and I'm on the other side of that. So you know, but.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know how we got going there, but there's something else I was gonna
Talking about
bring
like
up
a busy week. Yeah, we went on quite the tangent there off a busy week, but that's what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, it's just summer too. It's getting nice, so there'll be some beaches going on and things like that. Ice cream. It's starting to get warm over here, so you know it's gonna fill up. But just like our calendar's gonna fill up, look out for that. Look out for lots of things. I guess I should plug tomorrow is after 9. That's gonna be at 6 p.m. PST, or if you're listening to this, I'll just say what is it, May 12th and stuff like that. That's a regular after 9, and then look out May 26th. We're gonna be doing a Batman '89 movie night, our second movie night. It's kind of like a commentary track, but we just hang out. It's a step up because the first one we did was Venom, which was a straight to DVD bad horror movie. So at least this is the patrons voted. This is Time with Flash, and you can do that. The patron producer dear go and vote and stuff like that on retros and other polls and all that good jazz and stuff. And yeah, head over there. As we said before, we're trying to get to 50 patrons by July 31st to unlock 6 episodes. The Rise of Skywalker commentary track, the top 15 video games, GV Bingo, MCU Reboot After Secret Wars, a Nintendo Cinematic Universe cast, a mystery box, lots of good stuff in there. So make sure you go over there because if you don't get it by July 31st, and this is at any tier you can join. We're just going for patron level by any tier.
Or also loony, you know, and that
Yeah,
you
loony, yeah.
get in there, you know.
Exactly. Well, if you're Canadian, that doesn't work. It's a loony, a little sense because it's all American. But you know, a loony and some pocket
that
change.
exchange rate, it'll get you, won't it?
You, I'm sure you got some pennies laying around. But yeah, do that. You'll unlock 5 episodes and the GV Bingo, which could be lots of fun. And if not, then all those episodes will disappear, like Thanos snapping and stuff like that. So go there. And a
It's a
big
little
thing.
different because they never existed, so you can't really snap something that didn't exist.
True.
It's more of an
We
idea.
come off of our notepads that we jotted down.
Yeah. The word
Picture it
document.
this way: it's like a dream sequence. You went into a dream, and all those casts existed, but then you
Yeah.
wake up, and then you realize, oh shit, those didn't actually exist because we didn't hit the goal. So
Exactly. So you got to do that. But and at least on the flip side, I will say a big thank you to everybody because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, biggest episode of the year, only took 6 days to do that. Beat good old Ant-Man and Quantumania. But yeah, thank you to everyone that tuned out that. We actually had some good charting as well this past weekend. So big thank you to people for, there's lots of reviews out there, but thank you for stopping there and checking out Guardians. But yeah, lots of stuff on the feed. Redfall review just dropped with Dylan and Dante.
Very
Like
spicy.
yeah, we dropped Star Wars stuff like we said. I don't know if there was any. I don't think that. I think that was everything else. It was kind of more quiet because Guardians was kind of filling up the feed. So thank you for checking that out. And yeah, we'll be here for the next few weeks. In 2 weeks from now, I should say that I'll be the only one doing Fast and the Furious, but I'll be doing that the Friday night. So you got that going on. There's gonna be no Little Mermaid review, so sorry about that. But there's just I'll probably.
I mean, there's a high chance I'll be seeing it. I might as
Taylor
well.
literally
It's a
said
high
like I got to
chance.
cut back on some cast, and he's like the first 2
In
listed was
June,
Fast
June
and
1st. Little Mermaid's
Nope.
not in June.
Okay.
I'm glad. I'm just gonna say, I'm glad. My last 2 big trips, I missed Infinity War and Endgame. Those they just lined up in the worst possible time. So I'm excited that I'm not really missing it. I guess Spider-Verse is the biggest release of May, right? Or is
Yeah,
that-
or June and
That's in June
beginning-
now?
Yeah, it's June 1st though.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
right
on the
before,
cusp
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, but we'll do an after 9 talk about it then. Let's see here. I feel like you said for sure you were skipping Fast. I'm pulling up the receipts here. Okay,
Well,
so
skipping
here-
fast. Yeah, I'm talking Little Mermaid.
You said okay, so he did say Little Mermaid maybe, and you said so
Ooh,
they're both maybes, but already. Well, you can do that one alone, Taylor. I'll see that at some point, but I'll be moving everything and stuff like that. But to get us into some topics. We're going to be talking about a little lighter newscast. Kirkland's not here. He's having some ribs, so it'll probably be a shorter one. But we got some MCU stuff to talk about. We got some movies to talk about. We're going to talk about a little Xbox because all the side quests have been reviews recently, and I want to talk about this news, especially with Taylor, because I feel like it's warranted that we had a good old, the state of Xbox. I feel like we did that every couple of years because there's always something like, what's going on? We don't really have to do that with Nintendo and Sony, funny enough. It just kind of comes up, but we will talk about that. And I want to get these guys' opinions on Fantastic Four stuff. So we're going to start there because when you join that Patreon and help us get to those tiers and whatnot, or get to that goal to unlock all those episodes, at any tier you can send in questions. And Matty Seggs did this. So I'm going to ask these guys about some Fantastic Four stuff, but I'm going to start on his questions, which is I had to think about for a little bit. I don't know exactly where I am, so I'm excited to talk to you guys about. But he says, if the GV4 turned into the Fantastic Four and you had to decide amongst yourselves who gets each power of the 4 characters to have, who would get which power?
So I guess he's framing this as like the power, but I'm thinking more about like who matches the character and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta say, I feel like the Thing is sort of like a cryptid, so I feel like that's a good match for Taylor. Do you guys agree with that statement?
I think so. I'm there right there.
I thought it was coming. Yeah, I thought it'd be typecasted as the Thing.
Typecasted.
You put yourself in the cryptid box.
Yeah.
I think
You can do an episode about yourself.
Oh yeah,
that would be very fun. And then I always forget, it's not Johnny Blaze, it's Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm. Yeah.
I feel like that's either Travis or Kirkland, but I don't know which one. And I just don't think it could be me or Taylor.
No, I thought it was me because I feel like Kirkland's definitely come out of his shell these past few years, but I still think I'm the more arrogant one. I'm a bit more louder than him, so I feel like I'm definitely Johnny. Yeah.
Do you agree with
Not that I
Taylor?
want those powers, but
yeah, I could see that. Maybe I'm just thinking of like the Reed Richards dark hair. Kirkland's got dark hair kind of thing. Just he fits that kind of like. I could see Kirkland stretching out a little bit.
I could see that too, actually. Yeah. I think I could see it.
go make a Photoshop just like that great one we have already.
I'll take Sue Storm. I mean, I think those are cool. God.
Yeah, there you go.
I think
There's
they're
your
cool
Reed Richards.
powers, and I somehow feel like that fits for me out of all of the Fantastic Four members.
Yeah.
Now that leaves Kirkland for Mr. Fantastic, which that doesn't feel quite right to me, though. I don't know. Like, we mentioned the stretchiness.
He's not
but
fantastic. Is that what you said?
That's not what I'm. They're all fantastic.
Because he's the leader?
They're all fantastic.
But he's Mr. Fantastic.
I guess, because he does some like tech work and stuff like that.
He's
kind of
scientist.
fits.
Yeah, he's like Stark
Actually, you
level.
know
He
what? I've
works
talked
with
myself into
wires.
it. He's stretchy and he's techie, so I think it works. That would be my 4.
At least I know now. There's a running joke on Friends that no one knows what Chandler does, and that's pretty much my entire relationship with Kirkland. I know now because he works on like construction sites and everything, but for years I had no idea what his job. And he would explain it to me. He would give me the term. The next week I'd forget. Like, what does he do again? It was like, and then he's like, I thought he worked on. He did something with planes. He's like, well, not exactly that. Like, I'm not a part of the play. I still know what he did back then. I know what he does
do it
now.
anymore, so we could leave that in the past.
Exactly. And then his second follow-up was, now, what was the question you would want to have? So we assigned them, but what would be the power you want to have? For me, I'm always on like the mind. I know, because I feel like anytime I pitch this, it just people feel like you're going to be evil, right? But I feel like it's the Xavier sort, because at first sometimes I thought, what if it's like the Purple Man, Kilgrave, but that's too far because he has that complex of like, well, do people ever actually like me, or do they just is the power, right? So that's why to me it's something with the mind, and I'm not looking to take over the world. I'm not looking for anything. All I would simply do is probably find a job and be like, hey, pay me this amount for me to do nothing. Like someone signed a contract where I get paid what I get now to not do my day job at all. Like I would be like, because I it was in some podcast again where there's like some stereotype. It was like some study about how men they feel like they need to do something, and maybe it sounds pathetic. I like doing this, but I've always said if someone were to tell me I could live with my wage and never work again, I wouldn't. I don't have that drive. My mom's the exact opposite, where she can't have a day off or she couldn't like have downtime. I could sit at home for months and do. Of course, I got my family and friends, but I mean, like actual job, I don't need it. So that's where I'd want mind control, because there's lots of kind of fun stuff like flight or like immortality. But I think mind control, because get that, even somehow like if I could like rig the lottery, like somehow that way, like something just to get me a bunch of money, very easy, and maybe I can start. That's where it starts to get the ball rolling though, because I'm like, oh, maybe I can change the world in a good way and affect some politics, but then you're down a slippery slope. So I feel like I would just use it for like, oh, you won't pay, like, I don't need to pay for a gym membership. Oh, of course, Travis, you don't need to pay for a gym, like that type of stuff, So mind control, telepath,
I do. I feel like the Xavier element of just reading minds kind of uncontrollably and just having that filter through. I mean, I think he gets to a point where he can kind of turn it off, but maybe not. I just feel like that part of it would be torturous.
I'm taking the Master Xavier. Yeah, if it comes with that, that's always the difficultness, but at least I won't be working, so I'll have many hours to perfect it, right?
That's what it all comes down to.
Like, if I'm playing Call of Duty and I got some voices in my head, oh well, I don't gotta go. I could play Call of Duty all day, So, but I guess that's the burden you have, right? So,
I feel like Taylor's answer to this has got to be something out of left field. Pun intended.
Be possessed by a fallen angel, just burst into flames. No.
He's like, what is the guy?
On Terra 2 specifically.
Whatever Bonebreaker has. That's what
I want that
A
tank
tank
with the
for your
gallon
lower
guns. That's exactly what I need. Yeah, as far as it goes, like I have a superpower. I always used to think like the classics, like flight would be cool and like turning invisible, stuff like that. But
Invisible. Hey?
What would you do with
Invisibility
invisible?
Yeah,
'Cause
you
I feel like that's like a bit of a same thing. You might say people might be like a little creepy power, Like, why do you want to be invisible?
people would automatically assume like you're creepy or whatnot. I'm not talking like Invisible Man creepy, but I'm kind of thinking like save the world, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like
How are you gonna
invisible.
see? I feel like there's many scenarios where, let's say, there's a man with a bomb. He's gonna kill everybody, and I can go, "Hey, don't defuse that bomb." How are you gonna save the world with invisibility? I guess sneak up on him while being invisible.
Well, I could go into like terrorist hideouts. I could just listen to everything. And you're like, okay, I could just sit there with my legs up, my arms around my
How
neck,
would the
just
plot
listen.
of
As it gets
Oppenheimer
bombed.
differ if there was an invisible man in that world? That's my question.
I could go in and I could just fuck around and be like, who pulled these wires out? Like,
Like, and they're just hearing a voice, you mean, at that point?
well, I'm not like whispering like who pulled these wires out. I'm the one pulling the wires out.
Oh, I see. Oh, and that's their reaction to you, the
Yeah.
invisible man. Okay.
Taylor's what he's gonna do. Powers. He's gonna walk into random rooms in the world and just yell stuff
Who
like,
pulled those wires out?
yeah.
But like, look at all
it's
all
so
the
hot
stuff-
in here, and then he's invisible, and we're like, who said that?
Look at everything Harry was able to accomplish for good being invisible in those situations. Like he was able to
Like
do a lot
Potter?
of- Oh yeah, he's able
You
to do
got
a
to
lot of
follow
good.
up because at first I jumped to Harry Osborn. I'm like, what did James Franco do while he was invisible? I don't remember anything.
That wasn't a thing.
I don't
no.
remember that comic book run.
You could sneak into Gringotts with that fucking invisibility power, man. You can just do so much.
I feel like that didn't get you too far because I feel like there's multiple people that suss Harry out though when he's wearing that. Snape does, Dumbledore does. It's not like he's impervious. Invisible's,
But they could pull the cloak off. Now, if I actually had the power and I could just
Yep.
be invisible, they're not pulling that off. I am
That's true.
permanently, well, maybe not permanently, but yeah.
Yeah. What if that was would you be invisible if you were permanently invisible?
Maybe. And again, I like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen route where I can't remember his name, but he puts like the white paint on him and he wears like the trench coat.
Okay,
and
so you
the
could still
top hat.
dress up and be visible if you wanted to.
Yeah, I could still put on
Yeah.
like clothes
For
and stuff
family
like that.
photos.
Family
He's-
photos,
He's
yeah.
gonna need that. What if you could flip back and forth? I feel like for you could make cryptid clues massive by like picking a site and making it
Oh.
haunted, but really it's not. It's just you fucking around. But you get the scoops, everything like that. That's that's a good.
That would be good.
Okay.
And I totally well, I don't know if I would like I feel like illegitimate. I don't want to like desaturate and like screw over the community because it's already such a convoluted situation. But I'd want to definitely fuck
But I mean,
around
if
with
you
people.
truly were an invisible man, like you would be an actual cryptid, and like that would validate a lot of people in that community. I feel like where it's like you could prove some stuff in a way that I've listened to a lot of your episodes. There's not a lot of like cold hard proof. You know what I mean?
No, it's true. That's true. Yeah. I'm whispering like unplug the wires. Stuff like that to people.
Who is this guy?
That's
From,
Indiana Jones.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot. Right. Okay. There you go. I just looked at our photos. I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah,
Dylan, what about you?
madness in there. I've always been a telekinesis guy. That's where I go. I feel like it's pretty universal. And then I mean, think about Magneto, right? Like he can't fly, but he just like puts metal on him and like hovers the metal. Right?
Yeah, he
That's
like pushes
essentially what
off
you
the
mean.
metal. Yeah.
So I feel like telekinesis, you could do a similar sort of thing
Mm-hmm.
with that. Maybe get some like nice tight pants, and you can just like lift the pants, and then. So yeah, I don't need full flight, but I think I could get some levitation going on, and that would be cool enough. And then I don't know, just telekinesis, just super cool and super
Yeah.
fun, and I think it would just make things very convenient. You know, if I wanted to do some scheme like you, Travis, and like make some money, I feel like I could easily, lift some money out of somewhere. I don't know.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like there's a lot of possibilities with that, and it's probably one that you could always get better at it as a superhero. You could always work on your powers, get stronger with them, that sort of thing. So that's always been where my mind has gone. When I think about this
yeah.
age-old question.
Yeah.
If you telekinesis the guards to like look away, I'll invisibility like waltz right in there and grab the money for you.
But
Why
you're
do I need to do that if
invisible.
you're invisible?
Yeah, that's the point.
Travis
You can
can
get
tell them to, lay down your
Well, the
arms.
guard might look like, why is this door opening with no one there?
I can literally just like go to sleep. I don't need you to. You normal guy could walk through and stuff like that.
Would
So-
you be able to, if let's say for actually Xavier, could Xavier, does he have to see his target to get into their mind, or like if he can't see an invisible
No.
person nearby, can he get into their mind?
Well, I guess Cerebro might be a weird case because
Cerebro,
that's
yeah.
like tech, where he's
Yeah.
not
It's
looking
like
at them.
it
but it's
enhances.
Like, that's not
without this,
natural.
without the Cerebro, like if he's
I feel like you got to be in the
Line of sight.
vicinity. I feel like you can't be like I can't be like, hey, Joe Biden, you have to do this.
He's
Like I
kind
feel
of like he kind of if he has a strong bond with someone, he could, I would say, right?
Yes,
Maybe not
yeah.
just like
No,
I can pick some random kid in Uganda and just like instantly get into their head. I don't think he can do that level of randomness.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, there you go. The other power I always wanted, but I don't know how it would work because it's a fake thing, so like, it doesn't really have to matter. But the other one was always because this one I probably wish for the most is stopping time, not time travel.
Mm.
Because I just always feel like I don't have enough time. If I could stop time in a way where nobody ages and nothing happens and I don't age, that would be an ultimate power for me, Because I just feel like so many times it's like, oh, gotta get to the gym. Oh, I only got this amount of time. Gotta get this game
Do
done.
you get
could
like
literally
tired in this, or do you just like maintain whatever your bodily state was at the time of, like even hunger? Like if you went
Yeah.
in and you were super hungry when you froze time, would you be hungry that whole time?
That's what I always thought, right? Like, would I get tired and then do I nap while the time stop? But then I feel like you start to get in some weird, like, multiverse stuff
It'd be
where,
like,
like,
Inside with Willem Dafoe kind of.
yeah, like you're gonna be, you've been in this time stopped for like 3 days. You've been sleeping doing stuff, but then nothing else happens. So it could get risky. So maybe there's like a limit on it. Maybe it strains you a little bit.
Speaking
But
of, that movie's streaming now. Has anyone watched it yet?
no, I actually have it purchased, and I'm gonna be watching it soon. I haven't. I
All
was
right.
that, and I actually started to watch Tetris today, which Taylor actually is right. I'm not gonna say it's movie of the year, but very good movie. I did not know half this shit happened with Tetris. It's fucking crazy with all this stuff with
it's
Russia
definitely
and everything.
Like, it's more flamboyant, obviously.
Yeah,
it's like
for
cinematic,
sure,
but
but-
it's definitely a fun ride.
yeah. So
What power should we give Kirkland?
spaghetti fingers.
Okay, sounds good.
Shoot spaghetti from his fingers.
Oh, shoot! I thought you meant he would have spaghetti fingers, but you mean shoot spaghetti from his fingers.
Yeah,
Okay.
shoot spaghetti. Yeah, or
It's
yeah,
kind
I
of like
guess
a weak Spider-Man. It's like he kind of shoots
Yeah.
web, but it's like it's useless.
that
Like,
or
maybe
a
one hand is spaghetti, the other one's like the sauce, so he can do some mix, and then he can like
Oh,
vomit
yeah.
Parmesan or something like that.
oh god, that'd be the worst for him.
Breadsticks
That-
out of somewhere else.
That or the power he'd probably wish for is just like a normal sized mouth, because we all know Kirkland has a really small mouth, so I think he just wants to be like everyone else and have.
But maybe now it would be like 1.5 times too big.
he's
Like not
like
huge, but just
yeah.
big enough that it's
he's like Birdo.
Guy's got a big mouth.
He just when he packs stuff, he didn't need a suitcase. He just shoves his cheek with clothes and everything. So
Oh,
let's see if he listens to this. I don't know because he low key gets a little offended when I say that because I think he's with the joke now, but because I think for a while I just made it seem like I was really serious. Like, no, you got a little mouth. I think he has a normal sized mouth, but he said enough things where it's like people with regular sized mouth don't have these problems, but that's okay. But speaking of going to the Fantastic Four, because I talked about this a little bit, but I want to get your guys' opinion because the times that it broke was like I was doing Trash Told You or there was a newscast, so. The driver thing we had talked about a few times because, as I always say, Hansi, she brought that up a long time ago, and then it kind of started to rumor, and then these Sue Storr rumors came up, but now even it's tough. They're all like just C plus scoopers. There's no one big time saying this, but everyone's pretty much just saying that it looks like it's a done deal between Driver and Robbie. Dylan, what do you think of that connection, or what do you think of that duo as far as like leading? Johnny and Thing are still kind of up in the air. There's some names, but there's not much certainty around that. But if these are the two that are going to be leading the MCU Fantastic Four, how are you feeling about that?
I think it makes sense initially that I do feel like they want to go for star power, and they want to differentiate from these other movies that have existed. So I think that's a good way to go, and
Mhm.
Driver makes a lot of sense. Just he has the Disney connection there. So we've had him in the draft before. Like he makes sense that he would be getting in that role, and that's confirmed at this point, right?
No, but it's pretty
No.
confirmed.
Okay.
Like I said, tons of
That's
scoopers are just
floated
like
up to like the
saying it.
higher
But
tiers, right?
yeah,
The A tiers and stuff.
no, still C plus, no A tier. Because
Okay.
my theory could be that no A tier is going to report it the same way that no A tier ever reported Toby and Andrew. I think because sometimes Marvel's like, hey, don't say anything. We want to do a big thing at Comic Con. If you don't say anything, we'll give you a bone. Because there's no way the A tier scoopers didn't know Toby and Andrew were in Spider-Man, but no one ever reported it. It never came out. It was just, the
right.
villains are back. So I think sometimes they make deals and say, hey,
Gotcha.
don't say anything. We want a big hubbubaloo of like, even though the writer's strike might not have Comic Con happen, but.
Yeah. No, so I mean, Driver makes a lot of sense. I think he fits in that role. It's funny that he's been talked about like he could be Doom or Reed Richards, and it's so I think it's cool. I'm happy about it. I like Driver. The Margot Robbie one, that one surprises me a lot more. Just hot off of playing Harley Quinn. It just feels like too soon still. I don't know, but I don't even. For some reason I feel like it's not something she would want to do. I don't know anything about her. It's just a feeling deep in my gut for some reason. But I'm absolutely there for it. It's not what I was expecting, and it makes me even more curious what they're gonna do for the other characters. And I mean, I don't know. Putting like obviously Driver's big, but she's even bigger. And like, are they trying to position it that she appears as the lead of this
That's
movie?
the rumor. The script is
Yeah.
Sue's the lead. Yeah.
So yeah, building it around her in that way, which that would be super cool, and I'd be down for that. But yeah, I cannot wait to see who fills in those other two roles. Like, are they people on that caliber as well? I think you could go different ways. It's just gonna be a voice and all that. But
Yeah.
well, I don't know. Maybe there's a transformation in there, and we actually do get the live action version before they are a Rock. But we'll see about that. But no, and not Dwayne the Rock, but just a Rock. I'm into it though. It's part of it feels a little too good to be true, but I hopefully that we get those confirmations when Comic-Con hits and stuff like that.
I would love to see, because like Reed Richards and Ben Grimm are supposed to be best friends. I would love to see flashbacks them trying to make Adam Driver and The Rock seem like best friends. And like, I'm sure Adam Driver could do it and make us believe it, but just that combo of like, they went to college together and they all this stuff. Like, just they do some flashbacks to The Rock, just like learning it like in
his ego's way
school.
too big to ever do a role like that. But
100%. It's not gonna happen and stuff like that. But another theory I have floated out about Robbie. I put the two together. Robbie is just that maybe it's a good paying gig because she's a producer nowadays. So my theory was maybe it's, hey, I can always produce movies and do these little movies, and now I always got the MCU as like a fallback to make some money, right? Like you can go collect some checks and then go produce Promising Young Woman and all this stuff, right? So that could be a pure money driven, and that's fine, just as long as they show up and actually perform. I'm all good with that. Just don't just take the check and kind of phone in everything like that. But what about you, Taylor? You like this?
I honestly was not expecting Robbie to be kind of thrown into.
That's definitely the big surprise one. Yeah.
Yeah, like obviously Adam Driver is. I feel like that's been mentioned before, and so I think it totally makes sense. You touched upon it, Dylan, like him already having his feet in the Disney community, and
that's a
just
big deal,
like
for sure.
It's a big deal. Yeah, they like to cycle through their actors and actresses and all different franchises. So yeah, I think him jumping into the MCU is great. I think getting that dynamic with him and Robbie, like they never acted anything together before, have they?
No, that's to me the most appealing part, is that combo together, Robbie and Driver. I never thought I'd get it in a Marvel or comic book movie. Like I didn't think he'd be going to DC or something like that. So I'm kind of surprised this is where it's going to happen. So I'm very excited to see that chemistry between the two. Hopefully the chemistry.
I'm also looking forward to the fact that we'll see just as Adam Driver as a different Reed Richards. I really, really like knowing that again, we're existing in the MCU where we have like our Krasinski one and we have this one. I like seeing different actors portraying.
We don't got no
variants.
Krasinski one.
He's a Reed Richards.
What happened to that Reed Richards, Taylor?
Well, I know, but
He got spaghetti eyes. He looked like Kirkland's fingers.
What I'm saying, I like to see different actors playing the same character. Like maybe eventually we get that Tom Cruise Iron Man, Tony Stark. I don't know, but like I that's what I like is seeing those different portrayals, but that's the same actor. So
No, you mean the other way around. Same character, different actor.
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. You should have been in the room. You should have told them about Kang like months ago. Tell them it should all have been different actors. You could help them a lot.
I don't have time travel. I can't.
Yeah, you picked invisibility, not time.
I'm sitting and listening in the room, but I can't do anything about it.
Hey guys, these wires are broken. You're like,
Yeah, you could get us a lot more scoops though. That'd be fantastic.
yeah,
That'd be
you could
great
be
for the
a
podcast.
fly on the wall for sure.
What are you gonna do for me, Disney?
I was gonna. No,
I
you
can
don't have
open
to
the
say
doors
anything.
for you. Travis can,
Yeah.
distract the guards, and you can sneak right in.
Well, Travis, you said Disney kind of
Kirkland
like
can make a meal for everyone. Distract them out front.
Disney does them a solid so they don't leak things out, right? So
No, but if you're invisible, you could just get all the scoops for us. Because you literally just go sit. Like, I feel like when you're like, oh, cryptid, I don't know if I want to affect the ghost community. I feel like you'd be fine to go sit in an office and you see like, hey, they're meeting with so and so. You remember when they went on that like adventure and they like planned out the whole 10 years of the MCU? You could be in that cabin, come back, and we could have
I'd bring you the scripts.
We could be
like
the fucking
everything.
A-tier scoopers. We'd be killing everyone. We'd be like, where the fuck are they getting? They're just freaking out. Like, did you leak it? Did you leak it? Like, we gotta
That
change everything.
villain, the Wire Man, or whatever his fucking name is.
Don't be the wire man. Oh no. But yeah, that's one thing. So I'll take our first ad break. We'll talk about some Blade, talk about some Star Lord, and some other stuff. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So then another thing that happened last week was Blade. And it's kind of expected. So they've shut down production because they had got. Apparently, the rumor was they had got a new writer, the guy that's a creator of True Detective, and they just kind of missed the mark on hitting in stuff like that. Which lots of studios were like, "Hey, before the writer's strike, try and get a script in at this date." Obviously, didn't happen there. Happened with Superman and stuff
I'm sure
like
that's
that.
going to create many great scripts. Hey, yeah, finish this thing in a fucking week, man.
Yeah, and they're gonna run with it though. That's what's gonna happen.
So
But
there it goes.
yeah, so Blade right now is halted. They're not gonna start until the writer's strike is over. Also, we don't know when that's gonna happen. There's been tons of shows like Last of Us just announced they've halted production. What was the other big show this week? Oh, Stranger Things, same thing. Man, between COVID and the right like this now, it's like, and it's fine because they're all like more real life things. But the final season we're set up, they're like, oh, we're gonna wait for the writer's strike to be over. Hopefully it's over soon. Hopefully the idea is that these writers get what they want and we don't get AI and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess because I had posed this to the GUA people. Oh, I want to see what Taylor's getting here. Every podcast he's getting something. What is it today, Taylor?
It's a nice salad, leafy greens with a couple pieces of nice chicken and is that bacon? Oh, I didn't buy these groceries earlier. She ordered this food and I fucking know it.
Okay. So there you go. I just like to get the updates on what's happening there. But yeah, so Blade, it's going to start back up. And we don't know lots of these things. There's already been reports about studios that they're going to they're going to find public domain things and have an AI write a script. And then eventually they'll get other writers to maybe rework those scripts. That is something that's been taught. Apparently it's already been planned. And the other thing is lots of these companies already have scripts that they've bought that are sitting around. So I'm something that I think the strike's going to go on for a while. And the longer it goes on, the more these get delayed. And I just want to pose a question of like, one, because there's not much to say about that. But I want to pose a question of, okay, so Mahershala Ali, Endgame comes out, we get Comic-Con. That was 2019. We are now 4 years from when he was announced just to play Blade, and all he's done is a voice in Eternals, right? So right now, it was supposed to come out 2024. That's no longer happening. So maybe 2025, could be 2026 when it happens. With the writer's strike the first time around, like 15 years ago, lots of things happened. Like there was a Justice League movie, we lost that. Heroes got like a whole bunch of stuff and everything. And Quantum of Solace was a Bond movie that was bad. Do you guys think there's like any chance that Alia's Blade doesn't happen? Because I was looking at this of like, let's say it takes 2 years to get, like, let's say just to get this going, right? Let's say it takes a year and a half. And again, it's not so much that the writer's strike is going to go a year. It's just that it delays everything, right? And they're still working on it. Mahershala Ali is already 49, and I'm not trying to say this in like an ageism way. It's just that Blade is not to me the character that is you look at Xavier, right? Or even Reed Richards. I think there's certain MCU characters that you can play and it doesn't really matter the age, or if you're older, that's not going to be a thing. But Blade is all about like high octane ninja action. And I know you got stunt doubles and everything like that, but it's just, it feels so weird that by time we may get him, it might be 6 years after he was announced. He might be 51. So I still don't think it's going to happen. I think he will stay, but it did cross my mind of I could still see at some point, just with if everything gets shuffled back and it never really comes to terms and he wants to do other things. I don't know. I see there's like at least a small percentage of that happening. I don't think it will, but do you guys think that already? Think that MCU and Ali will eventually just kind of, they'll wait out the storm. No matter what's going to happen, he's going to be Blade.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some good points here. I'm not really as concerned with the age element as you are. Yeah, just for all the reasons, I'm not really concerned about that element of it. I do think the timing of it is just, yeah, eventually it might just have taken so long. He just might want to move on to something else. And I think Blade is one where, obviously, we would be very bummed if we lose that project, especially as we've it was a confirmed thing. We've been getting casting and stuff like that, like exciting updates here or there, although mostly not exciting updates. That's taking so long, and they're having to get new directors, new writers, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where there's really, if you drop it out of the MCU schedule, you might have to rearrange some things. Maybe you have to edit an Avengers script here or there or something. But for the most part, like, you can kind of just drop it, and the MCU will, like, the story, the narrative of the MCU will still be fine, unless like somehow the Midnight Suns element in that world of things is like a big deal in the next couple phases, and they were really building up to that. But like,
even then you could replace him, right? Like, let's say he was, let's say the plan was for him to be the Midnight Sun leader. You could find someone else to be that character, or you could like, I'll ask you this though, Dylan, what's more likely, that they would drop it, or do you think there's any possibility that they would recast? Like, let's say he's done, would they just stop Blade, or would they find a new actor?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point too. That's a hard one to recast, I feel like, after confirmation. Of course, you can always do it, and you can get someone great.
A casting that everyone's very happy with, though. That's the tough
last case scenario kind of thing. I almost feel like they would just can it before getting someone else if Mahershala Ali can't do it. I don't know. I feel like that's potential, because once again, like, where Blade, he showed up once in Eternals, but Eternals haven't shown up since then. Who even knows what the future of that going to be? He was in it for such an insignificant element anyway. It was just a voice. Most people won't even know what that is going to be a reference to. It doesn't matter at all, is what I'm
Most people don't even know it's him, I guarantee you. That don't like go look on the internet. They just heard her voice.
I think I had to Google it. I was like, I think I asked you guys in the group chat. I was like, is that him? Like, I had an inkling of it.
It's such a weird, I get it, because I think the rumor came out that it's because COVID, they couldn't get him there, but it's just such like, I don't know, like, you couldn't shoot any, you couldn't like get, there's no sound stage where he lives. Like, there's other things have happened, in the past.
I guess when I look at the grand scheme of MCU, I don't think it's in a bad place by any means, but just with everything slowing down because of the CGI and the effects and whatnot, adding in this writer's strike, other complications that come down the line, the amount of complications they've had with Blade and the script and directors and stuff like that, it just seems like an easy one that they could drop it out of the schedule so that they can focus their resources on where they need to be. And they really don't need to be with Blade, which I don't know. What were like the box office like of those original movies? I'm sure we talked about when we covered them, but I can't recall off the top of my head. But I can't imagine they were huge successes in a way that they feel like, this new Blade, we got to do it. We got to do it, because those numbers were insane for those last ones.
So Blade, and they take obviously in mind that this was 1988. So the first one made 131 million, the second one made 155 million, and the third one made 132 million.
It's pretty good actually back then.
Yeah, and I feel like they have like pretty like reasonable budgets and stuff like that. And again, that's like 1998 and stuff like that.
I kind of forgot it was that long ago too, so I don't even know if that's relevant actually what I was saying there. But yeah, I think my points stand there, that I'm gonna say irrelevant enough right now that they really could just drop the project, or at least just kick it down the road enough, and then maybe a recast makes sense at that point, because Ali's moving on to other things. But yeah, this is all I would hate if any of that happened. I really want to see this project personally, especially just hot off Midnight Suns. I was just playing that
Oh.
Storm DLC, Travis. That it came out, and I was just.
Oh
playing the
my
first
God, it
level
has
of
came out. I
and
forgot.
It's pretty
Yeah.
good so far.
Is it
Uh,
good?
Yeah, so I'm just super hot on Blade right now, and I really hope we get that Mia Goth. Come on, give me that movie right now. I need it. I don't want to wait till 2026, but with the way you're talking about it, it's like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. It could get pushed that far down the road.
Yeah, like it all depends. If it's one of these that kind of like some people hope that the strike's done by Labor Day. The other big thing is that right now the DGA, like the Directors Guild, they're also negotiating their contracts. So that's going to be the big thing that people have a theory that if the DGA kind of figures it out, the writers might kind of have to meet in the middle, go, okay, well, they're going to be working. Because technically, like I've said this before, Tarantino, he's not in the Writers Guild. There's many writers not in the Writers Guild. And it doesn't really affect people that are like there's even this thing right now where Ryan Reynolds technically, because I think he is in the Writers Guild, he's not allowed to improv on set for this Deadpool. So they're going to be filming, but he's not allowed to improv because that would count as a writing credit, right? Of changing it up. But then people go, well, you know, if he did that, he'd be out of the WGA. People go, oh, that's bad because, you know, there's some certain things you lose. But at the end of the day, if he was at the WGA, people aren't going to turn him like away. Like he's like the people that have to worry about this are the writers that we don't know their names of, you know, the people that are Ryan Reynolds, like Seth Rogen, because he was talking about it, and I'm glad they're all talking about it, but like Seth Rogen could get kicked from the WGA and still produce a movie within the next 2 years, you know, like Tarantino will, like we'll probably still get that Tarantino final film because he's not a part of the guild, so it doesn't matter to him. He can just go make a movie. He has his own pay scale and stuff like that. So and I do. That's where. So for me, I agree. Where if the Directors Guild, if they get a contract, it might be over soon. But if the Directors Guild also decide to strike, that's where we could be in for the long haul. And I think, and it's not even so much the stunts for me with the age. It's just that with the MCU, most time, unless you're a villain, it's just never one and done, right? So I feel like if there's a Blade, I assume there'd be a Blade 2 as long as it's successful. I'm assuming he would be in Midnight Suns and Avengers. Like we're looking at and I guess it's fine, but like we're looking at maybe a 10-year run, maybe, right? And he'd be in his 60s. And I guess it doesn't matter too much. He's in great shape. But it's just like it's a long commitment time and stuff. So I just feel like this is one project that the longer a strike goes on, the more scared I get about it. You know, it's not like as much as I'm bummed if the Batman 2 gets delayed, I'm never really concerned about the Batman 2 because I'm like, okay, we're gonna get that at some point. They haven't said if he put in a script or not. But like with and same thing, Deadpool shooting, but like Avengers Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty, it's like I know that's gonna happen, but Blade, I don't know. I want it to, but I just feel like I'm preparing myself for the worst because we've just had such a roller coaster of, like I said, 4 years ago now, coming on in July of him announced and really nothing. And it's just kind of odd that like in that time where they were pumping out so much content, they didn't pump that out. I guess that was the issue, right? That they just couldn't get a good script, and luckily Ali had some concerns about the movie. So. What about you, Taylor? You worry about any of this? You worry about any of the writer's strike and stuff like that? You know, there's certain, you know, Tony Gilroy, who wrote some of Andor, he's leaving Andor, so they're doing Andor without him the last few episodes and stuff. So lots of shows. More of the shows right now are getting affected. Movies are just kind of getting pushed back, but the shows are the ones where, you know, House of Dragons just going with their shooting scripts, and we'll see how that goes. But
it's not. We keep talking about cryptic clues, but just to touch back on like the AI stuff like that. There are so many jobs that, with this new wave of AI that's come up, like Snapchat now has it. That Wondershare, that film editing program, Travis, that has built-in AI now. It just
what does it do?
That. You can ask it questions. I haven't explored all of it, but it's super weird.
How do I make a good movie?
Yeah. So there is a turning point here where hundreds and hundreds, probably millions of people's jobs are now instantly affected by AI, and they can be replaced. And so to go on a strike right now is I think it's probably definitely a good time to do it before AI keeps ramping up, because
and that's part of their contracts. That's part of them too, because a lot of the studios want them to do like, okay, Taylor, you write me the script, and then they might be like, oh, we're gonna get this AI to like run it through, or other versions of the AI's written a script and we want you to work off that, because it happens a lot. And someone goes, oh, who wrote the script? And they would go, oh, well, it's it's AI and stuff. So the pay is a big thing, but the AI is another big thing, because they at one point were trying to get it like AI like kind of put into the guilds, like accepted, and lots of writers don't want that, because I think the worry would be that those lower writers that aren't as like famous would just get booted to the side or be forced to work with the AI, which is a bunch of problems.
it does create a lot of problems. Like we have to be careful because we're entering into a part here where we don't want AI to replace people's jobs. We want to have it help support people's jobs. So if you are a writer and you're working on something like that, you don't necessarily want you don't want a whole script to be written by an AI. It pulls away a lot of that human ingenuity and that human passion that's fueled into it. It's very robotic, black and white, I guess you could say. So I think there's a definitely breathing room for these writers to work with AI to kind of develop these things. But in the long run, society doesn't really work like that. And I do
No.
see society like, you know what? Get these fucking writers out of here. Let's get the AI in here. Well, you know,
Don't gotta pay the AI.
don't gotta pay the AI. They're writing scripts for the Mandalorian finales and Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's coming. But I do think though that being where we are now, I am concerned because Blade is easily one of my most anticipated. I want to see the Midnight Suns movie or D Plus series special presentation. I want to get Blade on the screen because then I know we're going to be seeing like him, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, all these characters, like Werewolf, like all of them. I really, really want to see that, but it just scares me that it's not being, I don't want to say prioritized because obviously it's being cautioned and it's being carefully tiptoed on, I guess you could say, because they're changing the script when Ali wasn't too content with it. So they're doing things to work in their court, but if something like this, maybe delaying it, and then you guys talking about his age being a factor, maybe recasting, all that kind of stuff. It's bonkers. They could totally recast. It would be super shitty, but they could do it. I just think like, yeah, it's just if I could trade off like a Black Widow movie or I'm sorry, like I would easily trade a Black Widow movie off for this.
Yeah,
I would trade like the Marvels movie, Guardians 3 can stay. There's a few other Marvel movies that have been prioritized for the MCU, and I would happily trade them for a Blade because I feel like Blade is going to be that change up dynamic that just is so different from what we've seen before.
There's also been lots of C-tier scoopers reporting that they are actually going to make it rated R now. That's been the rumor going around. So I'm kind of surprised by that because Feige kept saying it was going to be Deadpool's the only rated R thing we're doing right now, but maybe they're just looking at the wins and saying, hey, we need some different stuff, and maybe Ali wanted that, and I don't know. It's just like, I guess all the MCU movies have big budgets, but I feel like Blade's one you could also keep. You should be able to keep relatively low, right? Like I don't know. It's what I don't know what could. You did it in the 90s. I'm not saying you're going to make that movie, but I just mean like do that again and then just try to make it maybe a little bit more expensive with the budgets of actors and stuff like that. Maybe some CGI, but I also could just see them like Blade has to fight some fucking vampire tower and it's like 50 feet and it's CGI'd out the yin yang. Like, you know, like just because the MC, like I would love it if it wasn't that. I would love it if it was just him on the streets of some town fighting vampires, fighting Lilith and stuff, but I don't know. Is she gonna vomit a bunch of
They could make it
cottage cheese out? Like
they could make it so bloody simple, and I totally agree. They don't need to go crazy with the green screen and just go CGI town. Like keep it simple. Do a baseline storyline, something like Dredd, Carl Urban's Dredd meets like the Raid, and just him going up a skyscraper, like clearing out like vampires. I'd be so down for something very base level.
Yeah. What were you laughing at, Dylan? CGI town.
Well, just because, yeah, Travis, you're like, oh, I'd love if he was just in some town destroying people. And I'm like, oh, he's just in CGI town. I guess that's the town that is.
Well, and it's no joke.
But also, like, oh, it's sitting on the volume all day long. Like, I don't know. That's not going to change. But.
Right? Like, there's so many times, because I've been doing I say this still in off air, like a trilogy rewatch of Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. And I love those movies, but there are times where it's just like, man, this is not it. This is not a street they're on at all. Like, because I think it looks worse on the TV, and it's just like, it's like when Downey and Banner are about to face off against oh god, who is he looks
Ebony
like Squid.
Maw.
Yeah, Ebony Maw. Yeah, and it's just like just the backdrop. I'm like, oh yeah, they're not in New York at all here, and that's where it's just like get Blade at actual New York. We don't need CGI town New York, but alas, we will see. So, and then the other thing in the MCU, so this just comes from a smaller rumor, but I think it kind of fits with what we talked about in the Guardians review, and that's why I put it a little deeper in. So, minor spoilers for Guardians, but I think you've probably seen it or figured out by the title here, but minor spoilers. So, obviously, we got that end credit, right, of maybe skip 10 minutes if you haven't seen Guardians, but we got that end credit, you know, Peter, he reunited with his grandfather, and then we got that end credit of he hits the mow the lawn, all this back and forth, right?
He's on Earth specifically.
Yeah, he's on Earth specifically. Yes, thank you, Dylan. And all we got was, it was just a comedic one, but then we did get the legendary Star-Lord will return. And we had talked about this saying, oh, yeah, like Secret Wars, stuff like that. But now there is a group saying, and a guy that is reliable, saying that they've actually for a while been wanting to do, and it was funny enough, he quoted like a legendary Star-Lord project. He didn't specify if it was a movie or a show or Disney Plus special. I personally would feel like they would go for a film wise, but that's what I was going to ask you now, Dylan, if this is true, because we kind of thought, okay, crossover stuff, but if they are doing something, one, do you think that's like a good idea, or is that something you're interested in? And what route would you see that happening if they're going, okay, we're going to do something with just Star-Lord and it's going to be blank?
Well, quick question on this Scooper.
Mm-hmm.
He is just saying that now?
Because he did a Ask Me Anything, and someone had asked him what was the plans for Star-Lord in the future, and he just said, well, I've heard that and this guy, like I said, has a good track record. This is 2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah,
said
first of all, I think this is just complete BS. And the reason is, literally, if this was, maybe not last week, but just before there was screenings of Guardians and that end credit and stuff, we had got this rumor, and then the movie backed it up. Then I'm like, oh, okay, we're on to something here. That rumor that we tossed away actually has some validity to it. But this just seems like the easiest thing to throw out there.
A little suspicious.
Yeah, the timing of it's just too easy. So I'm going to say complete bullshit on it. And in terms of my actual interest in a solo Star-Lord, I mean, I guess it would really depend, how solo are we talking here? Are we talking it's just him with a couple new characters and a new villain, Earth or otherwise? Or are we talking he's the lead and maybe it's also Thor's hanging out with him, or I don't know, something like other MCU characters are there in a major way, and or if it's just not that, and then you get a cameo of some other Guardians character. I don't know. I just don't want this, I guess, is what I'm getting at. I don't want a solo project from him. He's been such a great leader of a team, and I think he's great. He's had a great arc, and I love that character, and I think Chris Pratt is fantastic in that role, but you can't deny that those movies are so elevated by them being an ensemble cast of a team of characters together in all their appearances, and that's why it's especially fun in the Infinity Wars of the world to see those characters, and Star-Lord specifically, interacting with our other MCU favorites and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think a solo film is a good idea. I think the marketing of it is tricky to do and get people interested in it. I don't know if a general audience member would be like, I saw all these Guardians movies and this special, and I've seen them in the Avengers. Why would I go see now a movie of just this one guy doing his thing? I know it's Chris Pratt, he's a big movie star and all that stuff, but I just don't think the casual audience would be there for it. And I'm not there for it, and this is my jam. This is my my playground. So I think a solo film would be a bad idea. I think a special could work, but I don't know why they would do it. And then series doesn't really make sense to me either. So no. I don't think any of it really. Yeah, I don't believe it, and I don't think it's a good idea.
That's serious to me. If they're in space, there's no way, because I just think budgetary wise, that's not going to work out. I feel like that's going to skyrocket cost. A special, we were talking about this because Taya, you actually popped in the GOA chat when we were talking about this, that what I would love, and no one else wants these things, so I get it, but what I would love is the same way after we saw Thor and Love and Thunder, where I was like, man, I could just take a Disney 45-minute special of just all the other dates that Thor and Jane went on. Just a pure comedy, no superhero stuff, no CGI, just put these characters together. Same way if you were to say, hey, we're going to make a Star-Lord special, it's 45 minutes, and it's just about him getting back to Earth. He doesn't fight a guy, it's just how things work, him experiencing new music, finding out about AI, just all the stuff of him, just he hasn't been on Earth since the 80s. So him actually a 45-minute special of just him what does he do for work? Him getting a job, I would love that, but I don't think they would do that. I feel like they would just go, no, it has to be him. He's going to go, power around with Howard the Duck. But I would love, I've said this ever since Avengers, Age of Ultron, when they did the dinner scene with all the Avengers, I would love them to start doing more stuff like this, because I just feel like some of these characters are loved enough that people would tune in. I feel like now some people go in and go, oh, that's lame because they didn't fight anybody. So I get that, and they won't do that. But for me as a fan, I would love to see that. And a movie, it's tough as far as like, do I want it? I could still say yes because like I like Star Lord. He's a top 10 MCU character. I said I'm always biased because like I see a lot of myself there. But at the same time, I don't know if it's a good idea. I get why like the itch is there because it is Chris Pratt. I think that's the only reason why. If like, hey, he is a star. You know, he's one of the bigger stars around. I don't know how dependable he is as far as non-IP thing, but everyone loves him as Star-Lord for the most part. Guardians 3 is doing well enough. We'll see what the second weekend's like. So I can see that, but I feel like it would be what you're talking about, Dylan, where it'd be Star-Lord with some other MCU characters. I don't think it would be... I think it wouldn't be the Guardians, barring an end credit or cameo. And I don't think it would just be him alone in space. It's the same reason why I keep saying this, and this is another movie I'm very interested to see if it happens. Same thing as Armor Wars being a movie. I do not see that doing well. I really don't. I don't think people care enough about... Now, there's all these rumors, right, that Ultron's going to be the villain and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, if you can kind of like spoof it up with some other characters and stuff, fine. I mean, that's what they do with Star-Lord. But to me, if you say, hey, what's going to do... Like, if I'm greenlight between Star-Lord and Armor Wars... absolutely do Star-Lord before Armor Wars. So there's a couple things that between the strikes and between some of this like content pull creation, that's why I could see the Star-Lord thing happening because they just might go, well, it's a safer bet than some other projects, right? Like instead of a Namor thing that was rumored, that guy's not really a star, so let's not do that. Let's do something with Chris Pratt, you know, and it might blow up in their face, but
if it, I think it being surefire, guaranteed success. And it being easy to make, I think those things are actually kind of thrown out the window without James Gunn, though, right? Because he very much brought that character to the big screen, really brought that character to life in all the Guardians in a big way. You got to give him a lot of credit there. So I don't know. Without him, is it an easy success in that way, like both critically and even just like the production of it? I feel like it would be difficult for them to find, and obviously like other people are writing for those characters in Avengers movies, and I guess Thor as well for the 5 minutes, the lousy 5 minutes they're there. But I think you can even see, look at Thor as a great example of like, wow, these characters not used well at all. And obviously they're not really given the screen time to have that opportunity, you could say. But I don't know. I don't know if that logic really makes sense though, without James Gunn being in the boat.
Yeah, I guess they just look at the most basic level of character they love, actor they love, go, and who knows what they could do. I'm not sure who they would get. And I'm kind of with you that I don't know if this will happen. I don't think so. I do like that tag was strange, and that's why, like you said, the timing of the scoop is suspicious. But it is like it is suspicious of the whole he will return, and I get it because it's Secret Wars and stuff coming up, and I still think that's the route. But even if there was a movie where you could get the other Avengers, again, I'd be down for if it is him trying to even join the Avengers, and that's how he gets linked up. Like if you put like Captain America in a movie with him, and you put She-Hulk or something like that, because I feel like, oh, She-Hulk and Star-Lord, you could have some fun there. Like again, even with my 45-minute special, even if it was just Peter going around trying to date, you know, like because now he's gone from Gamora, he's a single guy. Like I don't think he have much in common with the people on Earth. So I think there's stuff there, but I don't know if there's stuff there that he should get a solo film. I just think there's more stuff you could explore with him, but you could do that in a separate project. But again, I don't think it's a show. Yes, Chris Pratt's done TV. He has a show on Amazon. I think it's Amazon. God, it's like the terminal list. So he does do TV. So if they pay him, he'll do it. It's just anytime you do the whole, unless you're Wolverine, like anytime you do the established team member going off on their own, it's always a risk. So
yeah, I think I mean I would be down to see what you're proposing there. I just don't know. Like, I guess that would have to be a Disney Plus special if we're going that route. And
I don't think they'd go for it.
You would think it'd be easier to make, but it's still, you know, even just the budget to get Chris Pratt in there it costs you a lot of money, especially his stocks just going up and up these days. But yeah, like I don't know if that's something that they would even see worth the resources, or like is that the kind of thing that gets subscribers on Disney Plus, or is the bridge between like the next Star-Lord content like. That would be super fun, but I just don't...
They'd never do it,
The realism's not there for it.
Like, I feel like the closest we have gone that was the holiday special with Bacon, when it was just, hey, it's a venture of them and Christmas trying to get Kevin Bacon. But other than that, all the other special shows have been, like even Werewolf by Night, it's still not just like, oh, you're hanging out with some characters. There's still like a story point. It's to progress the MCU. Like
Yeah.
other than the holiday special, I don't think there's been anything, and we've only gotten the 2 specials, I guess. So
That's what I was gonna say. We'll have to kind of wait and see what they do with this special moniker, and if it even survives the whole like VFX
Yeah.
bottleneck, and if they're gonna even invest the resources to do that, because you have to think in some way if it's at a same animation studio, it's gonna slow down the whole thing. And so I feel like maybe we got lucky getting those 2 specials, and I don't know, maybe the other ones are further down the line. We're just not going to happen at this rate. Not
yeah,
sure.
I think there's a rumor that I think the Mephisto one's gonna happen. That sounds like that's kind of a lock for next Halloween with Sacha Baron Cohen. Still rumored,
Next, as in 2023 or 2024?
but I think 2024 because I feel like the rumors are he might be debuting around like Agatha time, and that's not till next year. So I don't think anything this year for specials. But I guess both our specials last year we got in the fall, right? We got the
We did, yeah, October and then December.
yeah, so yeah, I guess so. But we just haven't heard much about them. So what about you, Taylor? You wanna see Legendary Star-Lord as a solo act?
Well, I was doing some digging because I was curious because it didn't say
He went
legendary-
invisible.
Yeah, I went invisible.
Feige's
They
off
didn't
the-
say the legendary Peter Quill, but they specifically said legendary Star-Lord. So I thought, okay, this is one of those play on
No.
titles maybe.
No.
And there is another Star-Lord.
There
Oddly
is,
enough.
but that's not. They're gonna do a solo project without Chris Pratt. That feels even worse.
But they could bring him in because technically they get married. So what if they jump into the future or whatever and they give off like a standalone series where, hey, guess what? Kitty Pryde is taking over the mantle of Star-Lord because she married Peter Quill. I think that's very, very cool. And they're
So
doing
you-
X-Men, so
That would be a wild introduction of like a mainline
Yeah.
X-Men character in a big way. Wow, that would be
I
crazy.
feel like we got a long ways to go. I'm all down for Peter Quill and Kitty Pryde to get together eventually. I'm all down. I love when different comic books romance is mixed. But I'm with Dylan. I think that's a wild way to introduce Kitty Pryde.
just gotta bite the bullet. Just gotta go full hard.
full hard.
Full hard. Okay.
Yeah.
So excluding that, just with Chris Pratt, how do you feel?
I would love to see a standalone project with him. I think that there is that notion of him not being handled by James Gunn that can definitely create a rift because we got to see him handled by Taika, and that was not necessarily the greatest. But I do think that given the right mentorship, well, not even say mentorship, but I mean maybe even let like Chris
He was
Pratt.
well done in the Infinity War, right? The Russos got it right.
Actually, yeah, I think the Russos did a very good job with the Guardians. That actually did feel very James Gunny, with how the Guardians acted, and
Even though he was not a fan of it, as he spoke about on the press tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he wasn't a fan, like much like other people. He wasn't a fan of the whole him punching Thanos thing.
Right.
He didn't like that, and he didn't like that. And he was very nice about it, but he's just like, yeah, there's certain things that I would have done differently, and he listed a couple of those, and the other one was, which I kind of get, is there's that moment in Infinity War where Gamora says, hey, if Thanos gets me, I want you to kill me, and Star-Lord does kill her, but like Thanos made the gun of bubbles, right? So he took that away. So now it's funny because during that time, he's like, yeah, I consulted with him. It was all good. But now he's kind of like, yeah, I wasn't really a fan of that. And even with like people have been memeing on it because I know lots of people don't like Thor Love and Thunder. They've been memeing on it because people have been like, oh, is Rocket still in touch with Thor? And he's like, absolutely not. Like, he's like, no, and stuff. So he's just like, he's very particular. And even then, like, I don't think he's bad in Thor Love and Thunder. He's just like, in the background. They didn't use them well. It's not like they were written bad. They're just not. They didn't get highlighted like they should have.
He doesn't want to be part of the MCU. He just wants his story arc.
Gunn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's pretty particular. He's even said that there's things he would have asked to be changed, but he was already out at that point. So when he got back, it was kind of too far gone. So
They
I
waited for him to leave the meeting rooms, and then they start making their changes.
well, no, remember he was fired, so he didn't have to leave no meeting room.
right.
Yeah,
right.
that's why.
So that would have timed out then with Infinity War and stuff too. Do you think?
Well,
after?
Infinity War, yeah, it was kind of in that mix of it, right? Because he got fired, I think it was in 2018 in Comic-Con. So I feel like, right? When did he get let go? It was around that time, though. That's what he had said. That it was something around that when things were already rolling. He had some input, but it was already too far gone. Because remember, he was definitely fired for Endgame because we all joked Batista was gonna bite it and stuff like that, right? So. Yeah, he said that, and oh crap, there was another thing I was gonna bring up, but go ahead, Taylor. I'll bring it up if I remember it.
Yeah, I think that I totally understand him having. Did you have it?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I'm on the other end of him where I actually think the Guardians were done well in those two movies. I can understand maybe his point about him killing Gamora. That's fine. I still think him punching Thanos completely fit with his character. I know lots of people don't, but it's just like to me that fit was what Star-Lord would do. Even in James Gunn's previous movie, the guy like shot his dad a bunch because like I killed your mom. The first thing Star-Lord does is just take guns and shoot Kurt Russell. He asks no question. He literally just kills his dad, and then the scene progresses. So but I'm not, James Gunn is the one that wrote. I'm not going to push back, but I feel like they did a good job. So yeah, that was the other thing too. He talked about Superman Mike that they were talking about doing a Groot and Rocket movie, and lots of the stuff with Rocket's origin was going to be in that movie before because. If y'all forgot that, remember Feige was going to make him like the head of the like cosmic side of the MCU, and then everything kind of went downhill. And I'm sure Feige's really happy about where things are now. So, yeah, you're down with it, Taylor? That's it?
Oh, I'm down with it. Yeah,
I didn't mean to do that again.
I'm down with it. I'm totally game for them doing a
Show,
Star-Lord
movie,
project.
series, special.
I mean, I like these special presentations. They're popping off. They're pretty good, pretty heated. But I don't know if I necessarily need to see a full-on theatrical movie. As cool as that would be, I definitely think I could enjoy seeing a series of him doing something crazy, but preferably the presentation on Disney Plus. I would like to see something like that.
Okay, so I have to ask you, you were sacrificing them earlier. The Black Widow versus Star-Lord movie, what are you taking?
Between Black Widow and a Star-Lord movie?
Yeah.
I'll take the Star-Lord movie.
Okay, then the Marvels?
Honestly, I'd probably go Marvels because I'm curious to see
I'm
the three.
surprised.
Yeah, no, I'm curious to see how the three are gonna like square off and how that leads into like Secret Wars and stuff like that, or is it Secret Invasion? Which one is it?
Well, there's two. So, like, are you talking about Fury
Avengers:
Show?
The Secret War, right?
Yeah. So you're
Okay,
talking about the
okay.
show?
I'm talking about the show. Yeah.
Okay, the
that's
show
Secret
is
Invasion.
before, though, remember. So it's the other way. The show leads into the movie.
Right. That's
June.
true. Well, another thing I noticed too when I was reading about the whole Kitty Pryde thing, that follows the events after Secret Wars. She becomes a Star-Lord. So
Yeah. No.
timing.
There's
The timing.
There's two Secret Wars. So I don't think you're getting
There's
that.
two Secret Wars and a Secret Invasion. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, no.
Secrets.
There's two Secret Wars comic books. We're not getting two Secret Wars. There's
okay.
one from like the 60s and there's a current day one from Jonathan Hickman. So,
Jonathan Hickman.
Hickman, sorry. I
Hickman.
misspoke. So, all right. Let's take another break. We're talking about some Xbox. We'll be right back. And we're back. So yeah, I want to get into this. I don't know if I need to pull up the exact phrase or whatnot because it's a little older. So maybe I'm just paraphrasing. But it's a very interesting interview. So they had, because if you listen to the story, because I did listen to their podcast after that, Kind of Funny had booked an interview with Phil Spencer for the day after the Redfall reviews. I think that was probably in a way that they thought it was going to go well and just kind of talk about the future. It didn't, but they gave the guy credit. What are you laughing about?
It's how you said that. I thought it was gonna go well, but it didn't.
Well, was that mixed with the CMA blocking the Activision Blizzard deal like the day before too?
Yeah.
Which obviously they couldn't have foreseen the timing on that. So it was just a full-on shitstorm just all over Mr. Phil there. But gotta give him credit for still going, hey?
Yeah. And that's what they said, because I give them credit, because I listened to the podcast after that. Miller had said, like, hey, we've had many guests before when stuff like this happens, and then they just cancel. And they're like, that's completely fine. But they were expecting Phil to do it. He didn't. You could pull up the quotes. I do recommend to actually listen to either clips or the interview, because it is like what everyone said.
It's pretty
where
short. Well, like 40 minutes, but let's just leave it. That's good.
But like it's worth a listen. They talk about a lot of stuff, but it's definitely the most candid you've ever heard Phil Spencer. And I know it's been a meme, but it is definitely like the most depressing you've heard Phil Spencer. And pretty much they were just talking about lots of things with Redfall, as far as, and you talked about this a bit on your review, Dylan, so you might bring some stuff up again, but he had said that they had discovered some issues with the game, but it was kind of too far along at that point to fix them. And then what was strange for me, this is where it just felt like a very bad day for Phil. He went on this diatribe out of nowhere. They didn't really talk about this, right? They brought one thing of like, hey, you announced all these games and you didn't really hit them. And he said, no, we didn't hit them at all, really. So about these delays and stuff like that. So, okay, that's one thing. And then he talked about the gaming kind of, I don't know, system right now, as far as you got your Switches, you got your PS5s, and you got the Xbox Series X. And that's another problem. Why? Because I always forget what the console is. So they should just went 1, 2, 3, 4. Xbox 720. I'm still waiting. Anyways, he flat out said, he didn't even like dance around. He flat out said that we're the third place console. He said, this part I completely agree with, that losing the Xbox One generation was the biggest like kneecap, which it absolutely was. And he said that people built their digital libraries and whatnot. And then he said this quote about people are so cemented now that it doesn't matter if you make great games. That's not going to make people go out and get an Xbox over a PlayStation and whatnot. So I got to start with you, Taylor Field, because we've had this conversation many times. As far like, that's how one of our first wrestling matches started. I feel like we've since the whole 7 going 8 years, we bring this up multiple times, but this definitely was like, and I know I think the past few years a bit more harder on Phil, so it's not like it was back in the day. But what did you feel hearing about this from Phil as far as some of these comments go?
It sucks to see a man, brought down before his maker. I don't know. It's just he
wasn't speaking with God if he believes in God.
No, but he's just. I felt like he was like, I don't know, like just sitting there like in his briefs shredding documents, just like 5 o'clock shadows coming out, just having a rough day.
It did feel like that to me. To me, it
back in the interview, you just see him dropping pages, just contracts.
In the back, you hear feel like you turn that. No, I'm really busy. I will say with Taylor, like it felt like he had been told he was likely going to be let go, and then you'd get the interview, and then a week later you'd be like, "Oh, Phil Spencer and Xbox have part ways." It did feel like that. It felt like, man, he is on the plank right now. So it did make me feel a little bad, even though he said some stuff that I did not agree with. But
yeah, so I tend to agree with some of the things that he did say. Like I do think, yeah, like you said, this Travis. Xbox One and PS4, that was a pivotal moment for gaming history, just to be jumping, because that was like all our generation jumping ship. Like we're adults now, we could buy our own consoles at that time, and we were ready. Like this was the console war was like heated at that point, but like it was very much a letdown, and I'll never forget it when Xbox was like, yeah, you need to have like a full-on internet connection to even play the
every
console,
game.
all that stuff. Yeah, it was really, really rocky.
No sharing of the games. Remember that too. And
no sharing of the games.
That was to me the biggest kick of nuts ever when PlayStation did their conference and like, how do you share games? And they had that video of just the two people passing game. That was like to me, that was the smoking gun if they ever look back at a moment of Xbox, because that was just a little embarrassing at the time. And
yeah, so like Xbox was trying to push for a new venture, I guess, with this, but it just was not the right time to do something like that. Like digital games were definitely like we weren't at that period yet. We were still like physical copies. Like Games Pass wasn't even a thing back then, I don't think, or if it was very minor. But like it was way too early for whatever internet thing they were pushing, and that killed so much of their market. And again, I remember getting my Xbox One, being apprehensive when I was learning all that information, but I still went through with it. And I think that's where I stand by that fact of him saying like they're going, I'm paraphrasing of course, but they're going for like if they're with a console, they're sticking with that console because they like that console, not necessarily going over because if we make great games, it's not going to bring people over to Xbox. And I feel like I've turned into that. When I got my 360, it really could have been a PS3 or a 360, but I got a 360 because my friends had a 360 and I wanted to play with them. So that's the route that I went, and that kind of cemented it. And now, have I thought about wanting to get a PlayStation to try some of those exclusive? Yes, but there's not enough exclusives that it would pull me in, like for sure. Like I'm running to the store to get that PS5 or that PS4. Yes, I got a PS3, but that was way after, and I wanted to experience some of those games like Uncharted, Infamous, all those different exclusives that were limited to only PlayStation. So here I am now, and I feel like I really resonate with what he's saying because I'm with Xbox because I love Xbox and I love the brand, but I'm not necessarily with Xbox because of the games. I do prefer to play these games on Xbox, but I'm mostly playing third parties. The exclusives that are available, yes, there are your games like Grounded. There are other titles like your Halos and stuff like that, but I've never felt more so now the reason to like go with Microsoft just to play those titles. And I think that's also a testament to the quality of those games like Halo and Gears of War kind of coming down over the years. When you look at that original Halo trilogy, original Gears trilogy, stack it with now, it's just not the same. It's missing a lot of passion. And again, that's another thing where you are on the fence of, if they make great games, it'll pull people over. And I know I said before, like, I'm definitely more so in that position where, like, I'm with Xbox, I'm with the console more so than the games. I do think that could maybe work in the long run. But ultimately, like, just, I hate to see a man down like this. I just think that they need to really just start putting out just a good games. They have some gems under their belt.
But great games doesn't have to do with, the turning of the tide, though. That's what
Apparently
Phil's
not.
saying,
Yeah, and I just, it's just such a shame that third-party companies are making better games than your in-house developers, I guess you could say. No flack against them by any means, but like when you look at a game like Jedi Survivor, the game is pretty damn good. Yes, it has bugs, but they're working on patches, 26 gigs left, right, and center. But
also has a Star Wars IP attached to it.
It is
though.
a
That's
Star Wars
kinda
IP,
different,
that's for
right?
sure. Oh, totally. And I do think, again, that's just Xbox needs to pick their battles. They bought a studio, and they're going to ride off the success of Starfield that was already started before Xbox came in. That's great. That's fine and dandy, but it's not their own creation where you have PlayStation coming in with their own things like Insomniac, Spider-Man, Wolverine, all these other titles that they're working on. I feel like those are things Xbox should have focused on too, is capitalizing on the Star Wars and the Marvel and like the DC and those really powerful IPs. And yes, it is like I don't want to say a cop-out, but just find your foothold and start running with it. Find that place where you can really tackle it. I think Star Wars is a great opportunity. Now that it's open to the world, they should do that standalone Mandalorian game that was like rumored but not true a long time ago. Like, oh, let's help like channel fucking big Phil Spencer
rumors.
dollars towards like Quantum Dreams and get the High Republic game Eclipse out and and make that, I don't know, make that exclusive. I don't know, but just find your battles and play to your advantage.
I want to. I mean, there's so much to go on this. I want to talk about that exclusivity element of it because I feel like when we look at this year and probably leading into next year, I feel like so much of Xbox's potentially budget, but also just like their game plan has been reliant on that Activision Blizzard thing going through.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that does go through, which that thing got blocked, but they're disputing it, it might still go through. It's a never-ending saga. But if or when that goes through, whether they do an immediate dump and like when they get the rights to that stuff, just putting 50 Activision Blizzard titles on Game Pass immediately, that's a big deal. That is a huge thing for them. Or they could even just drip feed that shit and give you like 3 to 4 Blizzard games a month for like 4 years or something like that. And that's like a huge thing. And I feel like you're talking about them getting, paying to get exclusivity for some other, big, I guess, third-party games in this case. And I feel like they've just been holding off on that in this last year because they spent so much money or are in the process of spending so much money on that acquisition. And like ideally, once they get that, they don't need to spend as much money on that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this whole thing, just because of how long sometimes it can take to get these contracts going, get these exclusivity things, if this Activision Blizzard thing doesn't go through, then I feel like they've just kind of been sitting on their laurels a lot in that meantime. And I will even say, just from my perspective, like last year, the first party Xbox was virtually non-existent. Like Obsidian released Pentiment and Grounded, and those are great, but they're not an A-tier level game. Like they're almost smaller indie ventures in that way. There was nothing from Xbox, but there was a million great Game Pass games and an amazing year for Game Pass. This year has not really been the case, and I feel like it's just because they've been chilling, trying to get this acquisition to go through before they can like move on to the next step and the bigger game plan there. So where should we go next on this? I guess talking about the great games thing, because that quote is particularly interesting. So he's just completely wrong, right? Like that is 100% bullshit. Like I would love if they had drilled down on him more in that interview on that particular point, and maybe now that he's said it in other interviews to come, he can talk about that more, or maybe just him mentioning that'll be a thing that'll come up in shareholder meetings, and then we'll hear about that through the grapevine.
It was a tough week. They didn't want to push him too hard. He's already shredding these papers. You don't want to go.
I know. I feel like he was already giving them so much that it's hard for them to like poke too hard. And just the nature of like when you have an interview and you have like 4 people interviewing him, obviously it's gonna get scattered, and you're gonna get like a couple surface level questions from each person instead of like really going deep on like a certain topic or something like that. But I mean, just look at like a big reason why this Series X has not been selling well and the numbers have been down, particularly this year. Is like, just look at those Xbox games. Like, they aren't existent, and they haven't existed. The fact that they had nothing for a launch title is ridiculous. Of course, that's going to make your console immediately sell less than PS5. Like, what is the immediate reason for people to get this thing? And then, like, their big first-party things that they had were Forza, followed by Halo. And for some reason, they released those 2 games, which were big deals, in, like, the same month-long span. No idea what that. And then Halo, of course, had a just ridiculously shit launch because they did it multiplayer and then single player. And then they're still, I don't even know if co-op campaign is in the fucking game yet. Like, it's been so, like, I know they added Forge at some point, but like, that is so disastrous. And then since then, these smaller Obsidian things that I just mentioned, like Hi-Fi Rush earlier this year is a great game. People really
the small
love
stuff
that.
they're killing it on.
But like, no one's gonna buy an Xbox to play Hi-Fi Rush, And so that's where it comes down to it. Where okay, we're finally getting into some of those bigger titles. Redfall was hopefully going to be that for them. It was absolutely not that. And we'll remain to see what the actual sales are for it. I can't imagine it does very well. Arcane's games have already not sold well, and you add in that this game's had a horrible launch. Like, people didn't buy Arcane's
Plus on
games
Games Pass
when they
too,
released
right?
when they released Dishonored 2, which is an amazing game. People weren't buying that. Why would they buy Redfall? So there's obviously a lot of pressure on Starfield, but you got to ask, like, man, there was a ton of acquisitions they've been doing for years and years and years before Bethesda. Where are those games? It's taken so long for so many of these titles, and it really doesn't make sense. And I think even if once they get to this Activision Blizzard thing, like, there's already obviously so much that they have under their umbrella, and they can't keep track of all of it. Another part of this interview is he's talking about how they were pretty hands-off with just Bethesda in general. I think with the one exception being Starfield, but something like Redfall, Xbox has not really been keeping an eye on it, or I guess providing support in any ways. Like, they just letting the Bethesda wing on Xbox deal with that. And obviously that was a horrible idea.
I kind of understand that with their track record, though, right? It's just kind of like you get this team that has all these hits, and even if it's not like sales wise, just critically known, like, people love these studios like you and stuff like that. But I see this all the time, people talking about Dishonored and Prey and stuff like that. So I feel like not that they should have just completely ignored it, but I kind of understood of like, yeah, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I understand too, if like they make the acquisition and you don't want that company right away thinking, oh man, now this Xbox guy is going to come in and just want to do this. Like, I feel like they're trying to be like the cool boss. And
why not throw some money behind getting an exclusivity deal then on these games and pick and
That's
choose
fair.
the ones that you want, like a Starfield. How much would they have had to spend to get the exclusivity on Starfield? How much cheaper would that have been than acquiring
a lot less
Bethesda? And obviously it's like a long-term thing. Now every other Bethesda Game Studios game for the rest of time is going to be exclusive, and I get that element of it. But like, I understand acquisitions and mergers and whatnot. They take time to fully integrate and whatnot. But man, it's wild to me that like Xbox wasn't even really knowing what's going on with Redfall. And he said in the interview too, like, looking at some of the stats and stuff, like, and I think it's a bit overblown how buggy and stuff Redfall, like, I don't even think that's really the issues with the game. It is more down to like design and things like that. But yeah, I guess even like they were expecting the reviews to be a lot higher based on internal
double digits higher, they said.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, I don't understand how some of that stuff happens. And when you come out and it's like, oh yeah, 30 frames locked on this, like, I don't understand how Xbox is not forcing them to delay it if it has issues like that, like a frame rate issue on your next gen, or not even next gen anymore because it's been current gen for 2 years now, 3 years. I don't know. So many issues with it. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, with me, I've always, like, it's a broken record, right? I always talk about every E3 that I'm always waiting for them to do that home run. I think they always have some good shows, but I always kind of question some things with Xbox. But I never ever really thought until last week of like, I thought at times maybe there should be a change in leadership, maybe he should change it up. But that to me was the hardest I've ever been on. This guy's got to go. And I say that in the nicest way, but the whole quote about the great games thing just to me made little sense. It just made me think that this guy just doesn't get it. Now, this is coming from me in a spare bedroom talking about this, right? So what do I know? All I have to go off is just what I've seen in the history of me being a gamer, right? Taylor talks about like the Xbox 360, PS3. I picked the Xbox 360 because I saw a trailer and heard the hype about Gears of War. I was like, I want to play that game. Look at PS3 that everyone now I always bring this up as a fun thing. Xbox to me 360 did win that generation, but technically the PS3 sold more consoles. And I remember we talk about this all the time when Last of Us came out, that was like a shift. I remember I worked at Best Buy. That was a game people were coming and asking about. It was sold out. They couldn't get their hands on it. I remember people being like, I'm buying a PS3 because I want to play Last of Us. And the same thing, I was a kid. I had to pick between the two. I had all the other PlayStations, but with 360, like Taylor said, I had friends. There's other games, so I picked that. But all the games that were building up in the PlayStation era, that's why I switched back to PlayStation. And we've literally have evidence of that happening. Yes, the whole known share thing or the online all the time, that definitely hurt it. But that's what those big titles like a Spider-Man, The Last of Us, Uncharted, the God of War reboot, that's what really start Death Stranding. That's what got that momentum going. And to me, the biggest example of it is you have Nintendo, which is just a fucking monster. And you look at that Wii U era. Look at what happened in that era. It was a disaster, that console. I had a Wii U and they had some great games, but it was an absolute disaster. But then what happened is they turned around and the Switch outsells both the PlayStation and Xbox. Xbox is like a lot lower down than PlayStation that, but it's reversed. Switch has won this generation. Who knows how high that console is going to be, but what is that now? Is it in top 5, I think, Switch for all-time sales or something like that? Just consoles, not handheld.
Yeah, I think it's number 3 right now.
Yeah, like look at that. From the Wii U to that, so it's just where, and again, that's because that did have the gimmick of the system, but also just a lot of great games. There was games that when Taylor's talking about the exclusivity, I had to buy it because they had Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And I'm not saying it has to be a Marvel game, but then go out and do that stuff. You have your Nintendo stuff, hit some other IPs and stuff like that. What Dylan's saying, that you could have done that with Redfall, just make it exclusive, not buy the entire studio. So for me, it's just like we have two big examples of the PS3 to the PS4 and the Wii U to the Switch of that happening. You know, like even you could make the argument of the 360 did that. So I just think it's complete BS of, oh, great games can't. Like, to me, if Starfield is this game of a generation and you can only play it on Xbox, I promise you there will be people that go, well, I got to pick up an Xbox now, you know, like, so it's just, and to me, the way he said that quote, and because Clay, Patreon Clay had said that in the Discord, I got that vibe too of like, man, this was the first time I was worried about Starfield. The way he was like, it could be 11 out of 10, but I just felt like he was almost prepping us for like, don't get your like it's not that good a game. And I don't know. I'm hoping it is great because I'm excited for it. But I did not like anything he said in this portion here. It did not make sense to me when we have history to show that he's factually wrong. You know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think with your example too, like obviously the Wii U, it wasn't just a factor of games. It was the really bad branding with the name. It was like people were confused with what it was in the first place and all this kind of thing. But with Xbox, like the Series X, I think maybe the one critique some people still have is like they don't like the look of it, but I think that ends up being kind of a minor thing. But if you talk about the actual features of it, and Game Pass is like you can't even debate. Like it is a great service, great value, and all that stuff. And it will ideally, in theory, just get better and better as more acquisitions come through, more of these games actually start coming out and stuff. And so I really feel like the one piece of the puzzle that's missing is just great exclusives. You know, they don't have to be exclusives, but it certainly helps when your competition can also have those games. So yeah, I mean, I like Starfield will be a console seller. The question is, to what degree is it going to be a console seller? I think he maybe was fed up in the interview and he says like people are going to sell their PS5s to get Xbox. Like I don't think people need to do that. Like they just need to also buy an Xbox, or when they are looking to go into that next gen, they need to, want to go to your Xbox first instead of the PS5.
I'll get the next Xbox because I missed out on Starfield, like what Taylor was saying about with PS3. Like, oh, he got a PS3 because I missed out on these games I want to play. Like, eventually you will sell a console, you know.
I mean, like even for me, obviously the PS similar story where the 360 was my console there. I switched over to PS4 because there was a lot of cool games. And then for this new generation where there wasn't really too many new games coming out when the generation first launched, I was like, well, I'm going to go to Xbox then because the Game Pass is really cool. And I like
Great
that tech
value.
and whatnot. But now, come this summer and like we're going in the fall, well, it's like, okay, well, now Spider-Man's coming out, so I'm going to get my PS5 now at this point.
Yeah.
And so you just like,
PS2.
eventually I knew it was going to happen when it comes to games. It's who would have thought it's a game that makes me want to buy this gaming console? What a crazy idea, Phil. So
Well-
yeah, I think Starfield, I obviously as a huge Bethesda fan, I've just had my heart broken with a fucking Arcane game being bad, but if this happens 2 games in a row, 76, I can push that aside. That doesn't break my heart at this point, but if Starfield is not good, it's going to be a rough year for your boy. I'm just going to say that. So I hope it's great for my own case, but for Xbox's sake as well, and just for the state of Bethesda Game Studios, as if they have 2 duds back to back, that would be pretty bad news for them. And I mean, for Xbox, that's almost just bad luck at that point that you acquire Bethesda and all those other studios, and then like the 2 first big releases you get from them are from studios who were historically great, but they finally drop a dud on you. That would be bad timing for them.
Well, and that's like because I have the income now that I bought them at the time. I think one of them was like a birthday present, but still, it's like I got them both, and I've always said that no matter where I am in my life, I'd likely always have an Xbox because like Games Pass is great, but also when they bought Bethesda, I'm like, well, I'm always gonna have one because I'm always gonna want to play Bethesda games, right? If there gets to a point where Bethesda games aren't that great, and I don't think that'll happen, but let's just say the universe, right, of Starfield comes out and it's just they drop tiers as far as a studio, that's when I will go, oh, okay, I don't need to buy an Xbox. I will because of Games Pass. I like that. I think that's great, and me and Emily share the consoles and stuff, so it's gonna happen. But I'm saying, let's say if I was single alone, if those games that the studio that I would buy for is no longer a must-have, then I'm no longer going to buy it. And that's why I feel the need to, well, I have to, because there's Bethesda. And if that's the only way I can play a Bethesda game, I will buy an Xbox. But if you lose that, Activision, I don't personally have that. I know even with Call of Duty, I wouldn't lose Oversleep. I love Warzone, but I wouldn't lose sleep if I could never play Warzone again. It's what it is. But with Bethesda, that's where it's like, I need this to do well, so I would keep buying them, So it's an interesting situation. And the thing is that I really don't feel like Xbox is going to do anything. I don't think they're going to do a big change up. I don't think something like Phil's going to go away. I feel like they just coast, and it's almost like what people have theorized, that they worry that eventually they are going to get out of the console business and they will just be more focused on just the games and the PC,
Services,
almost like
yeah.
services and stuff like that, which I could see, and I don't want, because I always want competition. I don't want it just to be Sony and Nintendo, but this just felt like that whole week between the acquisition, Redfall, but I feel like that Redfall, the interview, which it's funny because I appreciate how candid he was, but that was the big debate after of like, should he have actually still done it or shared as much? And I actually don't think so. I don't think I think it made it worse. Like, I feel like it's good because you felt bad for him and it was like, okay, he's straight shooting right now, but it just gave people an insight of like the mindset there. And it's kind of, for me, it was like things that I've always feared and he had confirmed. And it wasn't like we've had this thought process and we got to change. It was like, we have this thought process and this is the way it is. Like, it's just like, that's it. And like, always you can admit, like when we do town halls, we always been like, hey, we could do better here. Let's change that up. But like, we always, okay, well, we're going to try to, for the best, do these things. We're never so down and out. And that's different for us because we're a small business that, is not a multi-billion corporation. That's why, to me, it was just very odd for him to say this stuff. And
well,
I don't know.
You made a point of saying like you're in like a spare room with boxes or whatever earlier.
Yeah.
Like, what
Picture myself on the wall, which I'm
I-
sure Phil doesn't have,
I don't think like you should like put yourself down in that sense. I think like you
Yeah,
are
but-
exactly like the person to speak on that position. And I think like as a consumer, all of us as gamers, like what we are saying is very, very valuable and has so much more like credibility to it than like is he going out and getting this information himself? Like, he's being supplied like some information. Obviously what he said is based off of information that he had acquired from some source, but how reliable
The
is that?
Invisible
Like
Man.
there's so much more to it. And like I know earlier when I was saying like, oh yeah, like I'm someone who is more so now like, I'm just sticking with Xbox because it is like the games aren't really swaying me over. I realize in retrospect like the hypocrisy of that, because yes, there's the Switch. And I can't get Mario games on anything else, so I bought a Switch. I remember telling myself like, if they do Luigi's Mansion 3 and they do like Pokken and all that, I'm buying a Switch. And sure enough, they did, and it sold me. I bought the Switch because of those games poured over from the Wii U that I love so much. So
If a Nintendo console has a Smash, I have to buy it. Like that's not a matter of perspective at that point. It's just I got to do it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of games that fall in that category. Yeah, it is interesting because Phil is a gamer. You know, he is a gamer, and I know that he consumes like video game podcasts and stuff. Like he's very much in that space. I don't know if he's listening to SideQuest. If he does, don't listen to our Redfall review. I don't know if you want to hear that conversation, Phil. But like he's in that wheelhouse. So you think you'd understand it more than just like nameless CEO who only sees dollar signs kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I just to I guess be slightly optimistic. Hopefully release dates are coming for a lot of these things, but I think something like Avowed, like Obsidian's been on a freaking hot streak, and their production times are insanely good. So I think that could be a really beneficial thing for them. Hellblade, we got gameplay for that a while ago, so hopefully that comes out soon, if not like later in fall, and they can have a really killer fall into the Christmas season, and people are buying Xboxes for Christmas presents and stuff like that. There's obviously a ton of games and a ton of studios that are making a lot of great stuff, and I don't know what it's taking so long for some of them. I know production times are long, but even if you just look at some of those acquisitions they've done over the years, it's like, where are the games from these things? So I know we keep saying that. Obviously, we got things further out like Fable and Perfect Dark and stuff like that. And hopefully, with Starfield, we could even say with the start of Redfall, and obviously the Metacritic and the fan reception, that's not great. But in terms of like, okay, Redfall's out here, Starfield in September, maybe Hellblade is in November or something like that. Like that's a pretty good cadence of first-party games at that point. And if they can really keep that going into next year and stuff, then I think they're in a pretty good spot. And I mean, I'm not concerned or worried at all. They have an infinite pit of money, so they'll be good for years and years. But as someone who owns a Series X and does love the console and just wants it to be bigger and better, I definitely want them to figure their shit out a bit over there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll be talking about it again because Phil says they got a good showcase coming up, so we'll see about that. I don't know. But we'll be covering.
Phil, don't forget the gameplay.
Oh, they always forget. Yeah, I can't remember. I think that's like June 9th, and then I think June 11th.
That
Ubisoft
classic
has
Sunday,
one.
June 10th is Sunday, right?
Yeah, and then no, I think you're right. Yeah, Xbox June 10th, I think. Ubi, I think, is June 11th, and then I think June 8th or 9th is Summer Games Fest. They started off or something like that. Yeah, when's do you know when Transformers is, Taylor?
The movie?
Yeah.
June.
No, the Disney Plus special.
Yeah. Starring Star-Lord.
June 8th or 9th,
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, because on that day,
Busy
you
weekend.
and Kirkland will be reviewing that, and me
Well,
and
not
Taylor
that
will be
busy.
doing...
I'm not going to Transformers.
No.
Still busy.
I'm not doing... No, so that's where we'll be divide and conquer. That Taylor and Kirkland will be covering Transformers. Me and Dylan will be covering Summer Games Fest that day, so look out for that. It'll be a good
There you
double
go.
header, so...
Do you think like an Indiana Jones game by Bethesda is enough to sell Xbox consoles?
No, I think it helps if it's great.
Oh.
What?
Okay. Dylan was like, yes, and you said no at the same time.
Well, to me, actually, you know what? Ask me after the movie comes out, because I'm still with that movie. I'm very... No, I won't say concerned. I'm just very interested what the general audience... like what their passion is for Indiana Jones is now. And that's where I could be completely wrong. That could come out and be a Top Gun where it captures that 80s magic. Everyone loves Ford back in the role. But I just don't know if people are really clamoring for it. But I don't know. I feel like it definitely it like would sell something. But if that movie's big and there's a thraw for it and they come up with a great game, then perhaps I just need to see a bit more stats, I guess.
I mean, I think the timing of it, obviously, if it comes out soon, which I'm not too hopeful that it's coming out super soon, because obviously Todd Howard has a role in it, and he's, I hope, working very hard on Starfield right now and not spending too much time on Indiana Jones. But I actually think that helps to have his name on there. He's a huge name, and that's an important guy to have on there. I think the one concern I would have is if there's a multiplayer element to it, because I think we didn't really talk about this necessarily, but there was an interview with Raf Rafael Colantonio, who used to be the studio head over there at Arcane Austin, the releasers of Redfall and all that. And he talked about how like Bethesda was really pushing hard for multiplayer and microtransaction sort of games and stuff like that. And that was in part one of the reasons why he left and went off and made his own studio. And that's why Redfall is the way it is. That's probably why Fallout 76 exists. So if for some reason that Indiana Jones game falls into that camp, like pre-Xbox acquisition stuff where these decisions were made and it was like, okay, this has to be a multiplayer thing, then I would probably have some concern in terms of if people want that, if it's going to be successful. But I mean, Machine Games has a great track record, having Todd Howard's name on there, big IP, timing of the IP being relevant again with a new movie. I think that could be a big deal for them. Not quite on that Starfield tier, but I think it's above the Minecraft Legends Hi-Fi Rush that they released earlier this year. It's definitely above that. I mean, I even put that above Redfall for sure. Of course, I'm biased for Redfall, but it's above that, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully we get to see something in the future that's not just more than a logo and indie picking up the hat, but who knows? They gotta nail Starfield, so we'll see. We'll be talking about it in the summer, see what happens. It's gonna be an interesting year, and I'm sure we'll be doing another cast like this in 2 years. So we'll take our final ad break, and then we just got a trailer and a quick bunch of sequels got announced this week. So we'll gauge everyone's interest. We'll be right back. We're back. So I want to end it off with the trailer. So let's go quickly over those movies. So this week we got the confirmation of Freaky Friday 2 starring Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis. And I said this to Emily because Jamie Lee Curtis was talking about this before of like how Lindsay's back to acting. She really like to do it. And when she won that Oscar for Everything Everywhere, I'm like, oh, you're going to get Freaky Friday 2. And nonetheless, that's happening. You're getting Dodgeball 2, with supposedly Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller are coming back for the sequel. And then you're getting Beetlejuice 2, which that was pretty much rumored, but now it's like official. It has the date. It's coming out the same day as Blade, because Blade's not coming out. This movie might actually happen because they've been writing the scripts before, so I think that's already been, unlike Blade that's had issues. And the big things with these are they confirmed Winona Ryder's coming back. Catherine Hahn is coming back, so obviously she's had, or not Catherine Hahn, what is her? Catherine O'Hara, sorry, from
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, she had the big renaissance there, but obviously tons of stuff in the 90s, right? So they're coming back as the Deets. You got Willem Dafoe playing some sort of a ghost cop, apparently, which that sounds great. Justin Theroux. Monica Bellucci is going to be Beetlejuice's wife. So a bunch of people are trying to like, oh man, Beetlejuice flirting with a young Jenna Ortega. That's going to be gross. Well, he's going to have a wife, so they got that going on. But yes, that was the big home run that they officially, because she was in talks, but they've confirmed that Jenna Ortega is going to be playing the daughter of Winona, so of I guess Lydia. So Dylan, do any of these sequels do anything? Because I don't know any of these that you've seen other than, actually I don't know if you've seen Freaky Friday, don't know if you've seen Beetlejuice, don't know if you've seen, I know Dodgeball, that I know, but even then, do you feel like you need a Dodgeball 2? Because we've been there with Anchorman 2 and Zoolander 2. We've been here before. I was going to
make. I feel like Dodgeball is going to fall into that camp, so I will watch it. I don't have high hopes for it, but that's intriguing. I hope we get some more of the cast come back. Like, I'd love Jason Bateman. He can do some more commentary and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and Gary Cole too. Remember,
Gary Cole.
I think they gotta get him back. That has to happen. How much memes? Like, they could even make them have a little bit bigger role. I don't know if I need that, but they gotta get him back. 100%.
I mean, a good sports comedy, great genre. So I'm down for another one of those. And what else? Oh yeah, Beetlejuice. I feel like I've seen parts of it on TV, the original, but I've never seen the whole thing. That cast is insane, though, so I'll definitely be intrigued by that. Yeah, I'm down. I'm down to go on that.
Defoe and Keane together.
I love a good one-movie retro. That's my goal.
Yeah. To me, Defoe, like the rest of, I love Jenna Ortega. It's great, but like to me, the selling point was like, man, Keaton and Defoe in a movie together just sounds nuts. Cool. And it's just kind of funny that they're gonna do it before Sony gets to like the Sinister Six that would have had like Green Goblin and Vulture. Like they're gonna beat them to it, but.
And then, Freaky Friday it's a nostalgic hit for me for sure. I feel like Lindsay Lohan, between that, Mean Girls, and some other movies like
Herbie,
me and my sister. What's that?
Herbie the Love Bug.
Yeah, I definitely watched that one. Yeah, me and my sister loved her and those kinds of movies and whatnot. So I definitely have some nostalgia for that. It's been a long time since I've revisited that. But I mean, I was going to ask you what's going on with Lindsay Lohan because I didn't know she'd been doing much in the acting world recently, but if
Yeah.
she's coming back, cool. I'm
Oh,
down
she
to
had
see
a
what
big
she's up to.
comeback last year. She did a movie that I actually quite liked. It was a crisp. It was one of those straight to DVD Christmas rom
Hallmark
com movie.
Christmas
Yeah,
one.
Hallmark, but for Netflix. But it was kind of a so bad, so good. I really enjoyed
And
it.
she
so.
was good.
She was
in
a
it, would you
star.
say? Or is it hard to say?
It's not hard to say. She was fine. She was serviceable. I'll say. I don't like. My theory for this is there's two ways this Freaky Friday 2 is gonna go. Either they're gonna do just the exact same movie and it's she's old or she's younger. Great. My theory, and I could be wrong. There's nothing in the plot points. This is just me going. I don't know if Lindsay Lohan can carry it. I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis will swap places with whoever Lindsay Lohan's daughter is going to be. And they've not even said she's going to have a daughter, but I could see the grandma and the granddaughter switching spots and Lindsay Lohan kind of being in the middle because she's like maybe can't act as good as she was before and she can't carry a movie per se. So that's my theory. I could be wrong, but that's
Jenna
my theory.
Ortega has the granddaughter.
Jenna Ortega is going to be Lindsay Lohan's daughter. Yeah, but that's my theory that she's going to switch places with the granddaughter because I just don't know if Lohan can do that. And plus, like, what is it like? It would just be the same movie. They're gonna argue, and then
But
at
isn't
the
that what
end,
this movie's all about? Is just playing on nostalgia. And
all these three movies are
retreading.
Dodgeball. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So.
yeah, I guess my ranking: Dodgeball, most excited; Freaky Friday, number 2; BeetleJuice, number 3. Just because I haven't seen it, but
Of course, yeah.
oh, it's just funny. These are all funny to me for some reason. It's weird. I'm surprised that BeetleJuice only ever had one movie. Was there never like a spin-off or anything?
They
like
tried
that?
many. So there was a spin-off animated show, but they tried. There's
Okay.
many bought scripts of of Beetlejuice
And
trying to be a sequel. Beetlejuice
I
Goes to Hawaii was a
swear-
big one that almost got made.
Freaky Friday has definitely had like a Home Alone 3 kind of thing, hasn't it? Like where it had like some other non-Macaulay. You know how Home Alone had like a bunch of weird sequels after the classics? I
No.
swear Freaky Friday has had that. Am I wrong about that?
The reason you're thinking that is because that's a story I think it's in public domain, I think, and there's
Oh,
multiple.
okay.
I could be wrong, but there's multiple versions of it because Freaky Friday was a
Gotcha.
remake of like a 70 movie. So maybe I'm wrong there, but there
Could be
is
young,
multiple
yeah.
Freaky Fridays. So
Every generation has its Freaky Friday.
we're getting Gwen and my kids are getting their own. You know, they're gonna have their own Freaky Friday here when they cast Jenna Ortega. I'm like, oh look,
Hell yeah.
they won't stop watching Power Rangers. Ever since we watched the Power Rangers finale, every day we're watching Power Rangers now. It's crazy. They love Power Rangers. They both want to be them for Halloween. The Power Rangers themed birthday came out of nowhere, but
That's a
It's good.
surprise, to
Yeah,
be sure. But
it's
a
good.
welcome one.
But a welcome one, yes. What about you, Taylor? How you feeling about these new? We got 3 sequels confirmed this week. A very, all of them 20+ year projects, pretty much.
Dodgeball concerns me. I love that first one, but
No one's
again,
positive
it's-
about Dodgeball.
No,
one's-
it's concerning. I think that they could have some fun with it, but we've seen the track record. Like you said, Zoolander 2, Anchorman 2.
I feel like there's another
it's-
one in there somewhere.
Oh, most likely. So it's just it's. I will remain.
Is this a theater go for you?
Not opening night. I'd probably
Okay.
go if like you guys were going. I'd be inclined to go, but I don't know if I'm there by myself opening night to go see it. I did
Well,
that
we
with
rarely go to
Anchorman
movies
too.
together anymore, so I feel like
You and me
Definitely.
go to movies. We usually are.
I
The other
guess.
day you went there on your bike and crashed, right?
Yeah.
No, that was
Crashing
that was
for dodgeball
last
too.
year. Last year,
Okay.
yeah. That would be terrible. Crashing
I-
for dodgeball too. It's not the way to go.
I definitely put Dodgeball 2 at the bottom of my list. The next would probably be Freaky Friday 2, I'd say. I love Freaky Friday, that first one. I'll never forget when my mom rented it from the video store and
The
she brought it
70s
home.
one?
And no, not
That's
that
the
old.
first one. Come on.
That is the first one. The prequel sequel.
The pre-sequel, yeah.
Yeah, the pre-sequel
Yeah.
What?
to this one that's announced.
The first one. Just say the first one. It's
I
not a
can't.
pre-sequel.
It's not the 70s. The 70s one. I didn't see the 70s
Okay.
one.
The first Jamie Lee one. You
Lohan
could say.
There you go.
Lohan one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2004
Oh,
one.
The Lohan
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to that. I think it's gonna be a good time. I just remember when the fortune cookie lady was gonna like give the fortune cookie to the grandpa and the grandson to switch roles. So I feel like that could.
That's the
Is
sequel.
that a post-credit scene? I don't even remember what's going
It was
on.
at the very end where Jamie Lee Curtis like No, it wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis. Sorry. So the restaurant owner
boy.
basically handed the fortune cookie to
We
the
don't need
grandfather
this.
and the grandson, and then like her daughter was like, "Mom, no, don't!" And she like dived and grabbed the cookies out of like the grandfather and the grandson. I'll never
Right.
forget that.
I don't think they're gonna
Um,
revisit that. I'm sorry.
But there you go. Well, not that, but maybe it's a foreshadow to what you're saying, like grand
Yeah, the
genealogy,
granddaughter. Yeah.
that dynamic. Yeah.
Grand
What do
genealogy.
you think? I meant nah, they wouldn't do that. I was gonna say I think the fun thing could be you got granddaughter or grandmother switching places with a grandson, like do like the gender swap thing and have Jamie Lee play a dude and get like some like I don't know like who's like get Timothy Chalamet in there. Hot off of Dune 2, Freaky Friday 2.
Oh, he's down.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka, he's down to get into some more
Oh,
mischief.
fucking Willy
Did that
Wonka.
movie come out?
Not yet.
December.
Okay.
Can't wait.
December they have like Warner.
Wait, like
I
it came
think
out last December, or it's to come out?
no,
this
it's coming
December?
out this one.
Okay.
They have like some weird release strategy where they have like 3 movies coming out within like 10 days. It's like Willy Wonka, Aquaman, and like The Color Purple. And everyone's like, what? But because the strike, I bet you they might delay some because like, well, we got to save some movies here. So, and even then, Dune comes out in November. It's like you got Dune and then you got Willy Wonka and Aquaman the next month. Like, what are you doing? Like, space it. I don't know. Willy Wonka's gonna fucking eat it. That's another prediction
Can't
of
wait
mine.
for
No
that.
one
It's gonna be
no one
good.
gives a shit about Willy Wonka anymore. I'm
Oompa
sorry.
Loompas, let's fucking go.
Oompa Loompa was played by Hugh Grant, by the way.
That's gonna be so good, so fucking good. My number one though is definitely Beetlejuice 2. I think that there's so much craziness, kookiness that's just gonna come out of that whole cast, and I've seen that first one a few times, not enough times actually. It's been a long time since I've seen it. I'd love to revisit it. I think it's just as a role for Michael Keaton. It's just such a quirky role, and I see Michael Keaton in 2 different lights, like him playing as like the Bruce Wayne, and then him playing as Beetlejuice, and it's just
Not the
I feel
same
like they're
man.
not the same man, just total
Yeah.
polar opposites. So I think that's definitely my anticipated out of the 3 for sure.
Yeah, I kind of spoiled. I'm number 1 because like I always wanted more. Well, I always want more Beetlejuice. I do agree with people that I don't know if it's a good idea. It could have a similar thing as far as like the comedy because it is a more comedic route. But and it's Tim Burton directing, and Tim Burton like very hit or miss these days. I know he did Wednesday, and everyone loved Wednesday, but like that wasn't fully him. So I don't know, but I'm just down to see Keaton back in the makeup and doing it. I trust Keaton. I love this renaissance he's have. We're gonna get him as Batman in a month back, and then we're gonna get him as Beetlejuice. So I'm excited for that. Beetlejuice. He's just like that's such an iconic character. And same with Jenna. I'm excited for that, but it's just same thing as Wednesday. It's just I hope it's not like that because the Lydia character is like Wednesday. She's a dark, like mopey, like very emo, hates life sort of character. So I don't know how they're gonna go with Jenna, but the whole cast, Defoe, that's great. I'm there for that, and I think that in September is a little off. I feel like they should push that in October. Actually, I guess it's like September 24th, so it's close enough. I just feel like that's a good Halloweeny type movie and stuff. So I'm very excited just to see how that goes. Freaky Friday. I love Jamie Lee, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I just don't know what needs to be mine there. Like I said, if it's my pitch or something else, sure. But if it is literally just Lohan and her switching places, I think that's fine. It's just like a Disney Plus movie. I don't think that has to go theatrical. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. They haven't, I think, said, but we'll see. But I'll watch it because I like Jamie Lee. And then Dodgeball. It's tough because I'm the same thing as you guys, so I don't much to repeat that. Like, yeah, all the worries are there, but at the same time, I said I'm not going to be excited if Ben Stiller's not a part of it because the first announcement was just that Dodgeball 2 is happening and Vince Vaughn was back. But then Ben Stiller came in later because I need to see that character back. It's a great character. But I think it will very likely go the route that we're expecting where it'll be a lesser than sequel. We'll think a little bit less of the first one. And then a few years later, we'll go by and we'll just kind of ignore it. I hope not. I love Vince Vaughn. I love Ben Stiller. I think with the world of sports, there's some fun things you can do with social media and the way like with TSN, like the way like even esports are covered, like dodgeball's not covered, but you can kind of get that sort of going. So I don't know what the pitch is necessarily of like what it like, is it Vince Vaughn training a young team? Is he like, I don't know what the pitch is that is getting them all in the room other than, hey, we can make some money off this, especially Ben Stiller now, like, He's doing Severance. Before that, he did another show that's very serious. It's very odd for him to be. He's doing these really critically acclaimed shows. Like, but I'm gonna go back to Dodgeball too. Like, I thought he was kind of done. I thought that era was over, but I guess not. So we'll see. But what I am excited for is Oppenheimer, because I'm somebody that, I keep memeing, but it's not a meme. I'm going to pick Barbie. I'm going to see Barbie first because I've been very excited by the concept, the cast crew. And I love Nolan, my favorite director, even without that, like my favorite director of all time. Love so many of his films, but I always just kept saying, like, I don't really have much interest in this concept. Like, I don't need to learn about that. Like, I've learned enough about this. Like, I don't need this movie. I don't need any movie. But like, I wasn't one that when it was announced, like, man, I can't wait to see Nolan do this. And even the stuff I had seen marketing wise, I've been like, okay, it looks like it's of course gonna be Nolan, so it's gonna be at least a good movie. But nothing was getting me going. This, I think, actually is the first piece of marketing that really got me interested. It was like, okay, this has me engaged, and this had me more like, okay, now I go back and forth like, oh, it's harder to choose Barbie over this because this just looks like it's gonna be, because they just kept showing so much footage of just like bombs exploding. Like, that's cool, but like, I can YouTube that. I know it's no, like, shot in IMAX and the greatest cameras, and he's setting off real nukes. Like, cool, but like, just showing fucking Cillian Murphy with a bunch of fire around him doesn't do much for me, But this trailer, like, it felt very intense of, we have to get this bomb done. It has to be now. I love the aspect of the community. So this actually sold me and finally got me into, okay, a Christopher Nolan movie is coming out, and I'm getting hyped for this now. So I think this trailer did really well. The poster that's with it just makes me laugh because it looks like a Hunger Games poster. So when I talk about, it's like Cillian Murphy or Killian, and it has like a planet behind him, and it's like all red. It just looks like Katniss Everdeen could be standing in front of it. But this, like I said, finally, I'm like, okay, I'm in Nolan mode, and I'm very excited to see this on the big screen with a loudspeaker. And this just looked a lot more character-based and driven, which I'm glad about, because I was worried he was going to get very spectacleness, which he loves to do, but I need some character and story, which I thought Nolan would have there. But, it's sometimes there's lesser and more. So, big fan of this trailer. Very excited for July 21st or whenever it is.
What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it now after seeing this trailer, because I feel like before it was just a lot of different like counter talk TikToks, stuff like
Counter
that.
talk. He keeps countering
talk.
himself.
And just like him walking like the black and white scene, and you just hear that like that score like and then you see like the bomb explode and like black background. Just really didn't know what to make out of all of this and such. But getting a little bit more, like you said, Travis, just the character development and getting to see what their story is. Like, yeah, let's build a town, build it quick, scientists, families, get them there, all that kind of stuff. Like, okay, this is gonna be kind of cool. We saw Einstein popping off there too. He looks just like this is like a bad idea on his face, and I liked how it just had this kind of like level of fear. Or Matt Damon's like, oh yeah, go destroy the world or something like that, and I
he asked for a percentage, and Cillian Murphy goes near zero. He's like, well, I don't like those. He's like, well, it's just a theory. It's like, the theory would be better if it was just zero. That was the back and forth dialogue there.
You nailed it, Taylor.
Yeah.
That was the ChatGPT version of the line.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, we got to do that. Fuck.
Have at her.
Okay, I did not expect it to end on that particular note there.
Matt Damon said that in the trailer.
Did you guys get this before Guardians?
Nope.
Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, this played before Guardians, and that was really nice to see on the big screen. I look over to Muds. I'm like, hey, you want to go see this? She's like, nope, not interested.
She's going to Barbie. You're going to Oppenheimer.
She's very diehard on Barbie. We're in this household. We're very divided on that age-old debate. I'll probably go see Barbie with her if she wants to go see it. But then I'll go see Oppenheimer alone. I agree that this trailer definitely elevated my hype by quite a bit. I think my one disappointment with it is like Florence Pugh's in like one quick shot, and I'm like, she's not going to be in this very much, is she? Like,
no, she's not.
She's gonna have one scene or like a 10-minute sequence on a train or something like that. It looked like she was sitting in a train or a car. I don't know what it was.
And get ready. That's the word going around about her in Dune 2 as well, that she's not in it that much. She's apparently in it.
A little bit of Florence Pugh to get excited.
Yeah.
So, but I'll get my expectations in check. But yeah, to what you said, Taylor, just building this town and recruiting a team like that. That's great. That's my concept right there. I'm totally into that. All the actors' performances. I think the Cillian Murphy and Matt Damon combo looks particularly fun as this weird buddy cop of like, you know, kind of like a security guard sort of guy or a bodyguard almost, and then the eccentric scientist, and like that duo seems like a really fun dynamic, and it seems like they have a lot of chemistry too, in a good way. So. Yeah, and then it's got the Nolanisms. It's got the weird sound effects with the I guess the Geiger counter. We've got the black and white shots, so it's like a bit of like Memento throwback in a way. What are those scenes? Right, that's going to be a question. How do those fit into the movie? Hopefully not in the way Memento is, just because I want to do something different. But
no one loves messing with time. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, I am definitely a lot more excited in this now than I was with just the initial pitch. Like I originally was saying that it wasn't really my ideal setting in terms of time period, in terms of just this kind of war bomb, whatever, like that. Not really my vibe. But like this idea of this like almost pop-up shop Western town, like that's really cool, and I love that backdrop for what seems to be the majority of this. And then yeah, I don't know, just the cast of characters alongside it seems particularly interesting as well. So I'm all of a sudden very, very excited for this. I was already like at a decent level just because of Nolan, but now I'm up there in the top tiers, I would say.
Even seeing Downey for me, because I always forget he's in the role and he's in that makeup. I'm like, oh, I'm very excited to see him in it. And don't get me wrong, I loved him all his Marvel stuff. I didn't watch Dr. Dolittle, so I don't know how he was in that one, but I'm going to say not too great. I'm very excited to see, like, it doesn't look like it's going to break into a Downey-esque performance. It looks like it's against type, which I think he needs, because I think that's the problem. A lot of his movies haven't done well in the MCU because people just rather see him do them in the MCU. So it's like, well, while you're not in the MCU, maybe do something a little bit different. So yeah, really good cast of characters. And like you said, I like the way the relationship, because you kind of tell, like, I feel like Cillian Murphy's gonna be like the straight man to a lot of jokes with Matt Damon. Like he's gonna kind of like not pick up maybe on some social cues and stuff like that. And
it's not even like, that joke, you're not supposed to laugh at that joke, right? Like it's just these two characters and the way they kind of jab at each other and stuff. So I think tonally it's not like there's just gonna be fucking little one-liners thrown in here or there. It's not what the movie is. So
it exploded, like some stuff like that.
And it went boom.
Yeah.
Super obnoxious.
Well, there you go. We've done it. I lied. Thought it was gonna be shorter. You know, still 2 hours without the old spaghetti man. You know,
Classic
but
GV.
yeah, classic GV. Something comes up, and that's what happens. But big thank you to everyone that's listening to this, and I hope you're listening to this, enjoying your weekend. Yeah, we'll be back for After 9 tomorrow. And there'll be a bunch of stuff next week. There'll be a newscast. Yeah, there's no other movies. There'll be some other stuff. There's gonna be a side quest hosted by Kirkland and Taylor. I think that's the first ever.
Wow,
so
very exciting.
yeah, I'm trying to look up for some topics. I'm jealous because I'm not on this one. I'm loving all this Mortal Kombat news that's leaking right now. The reboot and the Homelander and Peacemaker rumored characters to be in it and stuff like that.
Sick.
Like, man,
That's awesome.
yeah. So yeah, look out next week. We'll be back with a bunch more content, and it will not be boring.
Bye-bye.